Eminence. Go throw them knees up in the air.
9, 8, 7. We have a go for main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff.
It's the SFL nights with. It's the SFL nights with AJ Striker. With AJ Striker. It's the SFL nights with. It's the SFL nights with AJ Striker. With AJ Striker. Ashley Jackson about the action. SFL news, come and join with interaction. Whatever happens, happens. Yeah, you will leave with satisfaction. Yeah, tell your team and tell your captain. Come and tune in, new episodes weekly. You can tune in from your room in afternoons, and when the moon hits, it's unique. It's the SFL nights with. It's the SFL nights with AJ Striker. With AJ Striker. It's the SFL nights with. It's the SFL nights with AJ Striker. With AJ Striker.
What's up, SFL Nation? Welcome back to SFL Nights with AJ Striker. Thank you so much for joining me today or tonight or whenever you decided to hit that play button or turn on that radio dial. Really appreciate it, y'all. And look who I have here as my special guest host. He is Mr. Bo Martin Jr. of the 8 and 4. Count them. 8 and 4. Let me say it one more time for the people in the back. 8 and 4. Lone Star Glory. How are you doing?
It is a glorious, glorious evening there, Miss Ashley. I'm doing well. I appreciate that acknowledgement of the 8 and 4 record. I would be remiss if I didn't say it's a slight cry from the 3 and 9 that you said that we were going to be. It's a far cry, to be honest, from the 3
Just
and 9.
a little bit off.
But you know what, Ashley, in your defense, you and absolutely everyone else in the league was wrong, with the exception of Ray Bentley. Mm-hmm. Ray Bentley was the only one who gave LSG a chance. He had us at 9 and 3, and we were right there. So,
so he was wrong too.
Kudos to, well, it's just like The Price is Right. He was the closest one to it. So, kudos to him. Mm-hmm. And everyone else. Screw you. You were wrong.
Hey.
So.
Hey. You got to stop being so sensitive about that.
No, that's what you call. Listen, that's what you call bulletin board material, and those are the kind of things championship teams are built on.
Oh, okay. Because you are sitting at the number 4 spot, so y'all have a bye week and everything, sitting pretty, just waiting for the next arrivals to come that we're gonna talk about in a little bit later on. It's gonna be interesting. I can't wait to see how far Lone Star actually goes.
Bulletin board. Listen. You know what, Ashley, I'll be honest. I don't know that we're going to win the championship. I'm not bold enough to make that prediction. But what I will say is this. We've already won.
Yeah.
We've already won because everyone else had us at home by now. Mm-hmm. Everybody. Mm-hmm. And so we've already won. Everything else that we do going forward is all gravy. Like this is icing on the cake, because everything that we do, every victory that we have it's just icing on the cake. So we're already winners.
Indeed. And kudos. I'm glad that you had the bulletin board material to do that. I'm glad that I was.
Hey, do me a favor. Pick us at 2 and 10 again next year.
Okay, sure. Actually, that was Tyler. I don't.
I'm sorry. 3. Yeah, you wouldn't have done us that bad. You only had us at 3 and 9.
Now, at least I would have had you at one more game than that. That's right, man. Give me some credit. But seriously, great job. I actually have been including some highlights within the podcast, highlighting different plays and things like that. Definitely had to get Ike McBride in there. She's been doing an amazing job. So you guys have been doing wonderful. Kudos to you. You did prove a lot of the doubters wrong, which you're supposed to do. If somebody says you can't do something, I'm going to say I inspired you guys to do that, of course. So when if you do get that ring, Make sure you get one for Ashley, okay?
Thank
Size
you.
11,
You know what?
okay?
We owe you our 8 and 4. Thank you for thinking
right.
we were gonna. I appreciate it.
That's right. Hey man, but thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate you. And good luck, man. Good luck for real. All right.
We listen. We're gonna need it. We've got a wonderful strategy moving forward, but you know, everybody in the playoffs this year can win the championship. Every single team. I don't care if you're the 1 seed. I don't care if you're the 12 seed. If you look at these teams that made the playoffs this year, this is set up to be one of the best playoffs in the 18 seasons of the SFL. So any team can get it.
You know what? I definitely agree with that. And I'm going to stick with T-Roy's sentiment from now on when it comes to the beginning of the year picks. Everybody's 6-6. Everybody is going 6-6. That way you can't be wrong.
Well, I mean, you know, I'll be honest. It makes for good conversation when you speak about, you know, teams, and everybody can't be 6-6 because at the end of the day, everybody's not going to be 6-6. And
that's true.
It's all guessing. You know, it's like we all know it's all guessing. It's just that, you know, I don't know that I would pick any team to go 2-10. I don't, because it's really hard to suck that bad. Not to say that it's not possible, but I don't think I would pick, if I look at the league like currently, I would have never even picked Portland to go 3-9. You know, like I wouldn't have thought that they would have done that poorly, you know, and I just said poorly because I think they could do much better. I don't think that I would probably pick any team to go worse than 4-8 if I were on the content creation team.
And perhaps that's something noted for everybody, you know, and we will take that into consideration next time.
What was y'all record again?
Oh, we 5-7, bro. We didn't even make it. We sitting at the house watching y'all.
Well, listen, you know, we will try to win one for y'all because you know, I think you had us at 3-9. Eddie had us at 4-8, I believe. So I think he must have, you know, like maybe he accidentally inverted the numbers because he had us at, maybe he meant to say 8 and 4 and somebody transposed the numbers.
He probably did.
Yeah. So thank you, Eddie, for accidentally at least getting the numbers right, even though they were in the wrong order.
Give him a ring too. All right. But guys, this is going to be a fantastic show, doing things a little bit differently now. I'm going to talk about a few games that caught our eye this past week, or the last week of the season 14. Then we're going to slide off into the playoff conversation, you know, kind of give our take on, well, I guess we kind of did already, the playoffs and the wild card games that will be coming up on Saturday and Sunday. And then I have my expansion bid hopefuls interviews with Mr. Jim Copeland. He will be with the Lincoln Spiders. And then I have Mr. Jason Williams. He is the head coach of the Fort Worth Toros, also their fantastic running back, former head coach of the Adams, and he will be putting his bid in for the Fort Bliss Operators. And lastly, I'll have Ethan Musulin from the New York Gargoyles. So this is going to be a fantastic show. I cannot wait to see how this expansion bid is going to work out, because out of the 10 groups that apply, only 4 people are going to be awarded a team. So, man, what do you think about that?
Listen, there's a lot more teams than I thought there was going to be. A lot of teams came squeaking in at the buzzer, you know, like they didn't know the deadline was going to be Friday. When they found out, they were like, oh, shoot, we got to put one together. But the challenge with that, though, is that, you know, I think a lot of these owners can see that. You know, these owners are not foolish. They're not stupid. Like, they know when something is being done correctly. They know when something is being put together the way that it should be, and they can tell when something is just being thrown together. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if I'm an owner and I see all these last minute bids coming through, and you can tell it's just being stuck together with some bubble gum and duct tape, I'm not even going to give it any serious credence. And so, you know, out of those 10, there's only probably about 5 or 6 of them that are going to get any legitimate consideration. And so I think that's going to narrow the playing field significantly. I do believe that we're in for a shock, or at least one shock on who does not get a team. But it is what it is. And, I'm not an SFL insider, so I'm not going to break any stories. But what I will say is I do believe that we're in for a shock on who will not get a team, and, maybe one on who will get a team. So we'll have to wait and see. But out of the 10 teams, I believe 5 or 6, there's probably 2 or 3 of them that may not get a vote at all, or may not get a top vote at all.
Speaking of SFL insider, now, apparently this has been the hot topic of the league, and I had the SFL insiders hit me up in DMs, and they were asking me to read their mission statement. And I am aware that it was read on Tyler's show, but they did ask me to read it, and I did tell them that I would. And then we can comment about this.
Let's hear it.
I'm sorry?
I said, let's hear it. I'm interested in this one.
Exactly.
Uh-oh, clear your throat.
We are a team of insiders who pledge to dig deep and provide the people of the SFL with information they want and conversations they deserve. We've been asked who we are. What we will tell you is that there are 4 of us. We feel that releasing our identities at this time will render it impossible to continue to get this information we're capable of. We want to be a safe place where team leaders and players alike can bring us information that they may strategically want released from a neutral source, just like how professional organizations and player partners with media outlets for their advantage. Yes, there will also be information presented at times where some parties may have wished the information didn't get out. That's been a factor for the sports media dynamic for years, and just so it happens to usually be the type of information that fans love to eat up. So it ends up being good for the league in turn. Besides the fact that we have our American rights to freedom for press and freedom of speech, this is why professional sports and esports leagues never even think to shut down inside reporting, not because they could be sued for the violation of one's constitutional rights, but because they know it's the drama and the storylines that lift their product. We've been asked to produce credible sources already. Anyone who knows anything about sports media inside reporting would know that there is an obvious reason most sources are never identified by name. What we have to say to those who want to see credible sources is we just let time play out, and you'll find out how credible things are. If we swing and miss on everything, then our sources obviously aren't credible. But if we break stories that end up coming to fruition, the proof is in the pudding. If you truly don't want something to get out, then don't talk about it. And don't act like the league is good at keeping secrets. We're not just going to make things up. If the source is credible, we are going to consider moving forward with the information. We aim to bring a new media element to the league, and we wholeheartedly want what's best for the league. We don't intend on making a dime off this, but we are passionate about reporting information we feel players and fans would like to hear and would like to ponder and like to discuss amongst each other. There's nothing wrong with adding a little fun, a little more excitement, a little more realism, and a little more discussion to the league. What is wrong is the attempted censorship of the media elements and the content creators. Due to the few parties with powers feeling perturbed by content, our Discord account was quickly kicked from the server. We feel that not only should we not have been kicked, we feel we should have been given league content privileges, the same way all other media outlets and content creators have been given. There are things that have been written or said in every article on every podcast or show that rub somebody the wrong way. It doesn't give anyone the right to strip said podcaster or journalist of their passion. So we ask you, not the player, not the GM, not the owner, but you, the sports fan, the podcast host, the content creator, to support our passion and American right and support the best interests of the league that is working hard to reach new heights. Please utilize our situation as a topic of conversation on your show, and at the very least allow your audience, the people of the SFL, to determine whether we should be allowed to contribute or exiled outside the server.
Wow.
So
That's a lot.
was a lot. They came to me first. Well, I don't know if they came to me first, but they came to me with this, and I'm assuming this is after they obviously have been kicked out. The thing is, when you call yourself an insider of anything, when you call yourself wearing someone else's brand, someone else's shield on you, you have to be mindful of of what you're saying about that. For instance, in my lease where I live, section, I want to say 16 of the lease, paragraphs like 3 or something like that, states that if I go on any media source and badmouth this complex, that I could, my lease could be violated. My lease can be terminated.
Right.
Now, that's something that I had to sign, obviously, right?
Right.
They don't want they don't want the character to be, they don't want defamation of character.
Right.
Hold on.
Now.
Okay. It had to have been something more for them to be kicked out of the server. It couldn't have been just, hey, we were saying something and they didn't like it and we got kicked out.
Right.
I'm curious to know what was actually said at that moment.
Okay, so this statement is a lot to unpack.
It is.
I could probably go on about 15 minutes about this statement. Mostly I'd be talking about all the holes that I could poke in it. Okay. But for the sake of time, I'm going to try to just point out a few issues that I take with the statement. So first and foremost, if you are an insider, one of the most valuable things that you have is your credibility. Okay. When you think about an insider, you think about the Ian Rappaports or the Adam Schefters in the NFL, for example. They are the insider. So let's look at the process in which Adam Schefter takes to get a story, right? Adam Schefter receives the information from his people, and before he goes public, he does every bit of due diligence that he can to verify whether or not the story is true. You know why he does that? Because his name is on the line. His credibility is on the line. The SFL in the know people have no accountability whatsoever, because worst case scenario, the SFL in the know people turn out to be they don't have any credibility, and then that account just sails off into the sunset and they recreate under a new name, just like if they were an SFL player. So there's no accountability there. There's no reason for them to strive to make sure that the information that they spew is accurate. And then they want to hide under the veil of American freedom. Well, that American freedom comes with consequences. When people try to hide their identity, they're usually trying to do something that they don't want to be known for. I know of a group of people that want to hide their identity. They wear hoods, they wear white hoods and white, you probably recognize them. They wear these white hoods and these white clothing because they don't want people to know who they are, because what they're spewing is very divisive, okay? So in the same token, whoever these people are, they're afraid to show who they are. And the only reason it could be is that they're spewing divisive things, or things that they know that maybe aren't verified. Maybe they're true, but think about it. If you're a tabloid, people don't take tabloids seriously, right? So when you pick up a tabloid, you know you're reading trash, so you take it as such. But yet these young ladies or gentlemen are asking us to take them seriously, so much so to put them on the content team when we have no idea who they are and no idea of the amount of diligence they plan to do to verify the information before they hand it out to this very precious community. A community of people that look for social media and look for information to determine how they proceed in this league. So when you put out information about a GM who may or may not be moving to a different team and it's completely unfounded and you didn't get it from the horse's mouth, then what you're doing could potentially void contracts. It can ruin careers. It can ruin credibility. And so when you put out a player's retirement before that player has decided to announce their retirement, when you put that out there, you could be potentially taking away something that player wanted to say for their announcement. Maybe they wanted to have a party. Maybe they wanted to make the announcement themselves. And you're stealing that from them based on information that you received from someone that was given in confidence. Maybe not directly to you, but it was given to someone in confidence. So you're not an insider, you're a snitch. And basically what you're doing is you're receiving this information that someone has given you in trust, and you are betraying that trust. And that's the only reason why you don't want to identify yourselves, because you know if you identified yourself, no one would trust you because no one likes a snitch. Okay. And I don't know who these people are. Okay. I have my suspicions of my own, but I'm not a snitch. So even if I knew who it was, I ain't gonna say nothing. I would approach them on my own. But what I will say is this: nobody likes a snitch. So all of the talk about their of their freedom of speech and they're not want to be censored and them needing to be able to put out this content. Listen, if you were out in the open and you didn't hide yourself, I wouldn't have a problem with you, putting out your information, because then you could be held accountable. But hiding behind a veil, hiding behind a computer screen, okay, and just randomly spewing anything that you catch earshot of, that's not reporting. That's not content. You just running your mouth and you don't know what you're talking about. And maybe some of it'll be right. Maybe some of it'll be right, because 9 times out of 10, the violation of trust, that you got some valid information that was shared with you. So I'm sure some of it'll be right, but that doesn't mean it was right for you to share. And so where does your moral compass come in at? Like I said, with Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter, they're held accountable for their actions. And we may not know where they get their source from, right? I'm not asking the SFL in the know people where they get their information from, but you do have to be held accountable for your actions. And so just like Adam Schefter doesn't tell us where we got his info, but we know where we got our info. We know we got it from Adam Schefter. So if it turns out to be false, we can go to Adam Schefter, okay? And then Adam Schefter, in turn, can deal with his contacts. But right now, we're basically getting information from a hole in the wall. And there's no accountability if this information is false. And action without accountability is dangerous.
Whew, it's a lot, man.
That's just what's in here right now. Give me a few minutes. I might think of something else. I don't know.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. I will say this. When I read that, my response was, again, whenever you have that shield on, you do have to do what's in the best interest of the league, especially if you're calling yourself an SFL insider. I call this show SFL Nights because I represent the league. I don't just represent the Arizona Scorpions. I represent everybody.
Right.
I like to jokingly say I'm in everybody's locker room because I pretty much know everybody, But I've had that tenure. I've been here long enough. I told them, the person that sent that, I said, now, if you've been in this league for a long time, then you already know what to say and what not to say. That could, be kind of inflammatory. And this is kind of putting it in a nutshell.
Now, when you say the person, I apologize. When you say the person, you don't know who sent it to you. No. You're just talking about, okay.
So this is still under that particular account, the SFL in the Know account.
Okay.
And my thing was, if you're following the rules, if you are, reading the handbooks and things like that, and you're following that, and you're truly representing the league to the best of your abilities, but not trying to kill it with garbage, then you'd be fine. But the problem that I had with that statement is the fact that even if someone doesn't want specific information to come out, you'd be willing to share that regardless, just to get the name drop, the story, the accolade, the wow factor. Gotta understand, is that really worth somebody's contract? Is that really worth somebody's business being out there? And you're right. If they had a good point too. If you don't want your business out there, then don't mention it. Don't say anything. But at the same time, if you're calling yourself, hey, I'm your friend, trust me, and I tell you something, and next thing I know, it's being reported.
Yep.
It's a problem. So, my advice is you got to come in with the best thing, because we got a lot of people that love this league, that use it for the outlets, that love the community, and that will do anything to protect that community. So
I think a bigger issue for me is I see so many ways that this can go so very wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And their statement was, they want to ask you not as the player, but as the sports fan or the podcast host or the content creator to support the passion and American rights. Well, American rights are all fine and dandy. However, as I stated before, American rights come with accountability. Yeah. Listen, you can say whatever the heck you want to me or about me, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to punch you in the mouth. Okay? You have the right as an American to say whatever you want to me or about me, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to punch you in the mouth. There are responsibilities for there is accountability for your actions, consequences, repercussions. Okay. So as the person who I am, if I told someone something in confidence, right? And somehow, however, if that information got to an SFL in the know person, and that person thought this story was juicy enough that they wanted to share it with the entire SFL, the day I find out who the SFL person is that shared that insider, I'm gonna come see you, and we're gonna have a real good conversation. But I'm gonna leave it off like that. But the point is, there's a certain responsibility that comes with this voice that we have. Okay, you have that responsibility. I have that responsibility. The team owners have a responsibility. The GMs have a responsibility. Any of the podcasters that they're talking about, the podcast hosts, the content creators, we all have that responsibility. Where is theirs? They don't have it. There is no accountability for them. Therefore, they shall be treated accordingly.
Indeed. So, guys are watching. That's the take on it, man. I mean,
I don't know who they are, so it's not like I have a problem with them personally.
Right.
I don't know them at all. So whoever they are, please let me reassure you. My problem is not personal. My problem is the accountability level. If whoever you are, if you decide to go public, I probably wouldn't have a problem with you at all. My problem is not with you doing what you're doing. My problem is with the cloak of irresponsibility that you've donned. That's my problem.
Beautifully stated. So we'll see what comes after this. So what will ensue after this. I know that this was mentioned on Tyler's show earlier this week. So we'll see. But on to week 14 games. Got a couple games that I saw that kind of sparked my interest. Right. Matter of fact, I'll just go ahead and go first. Okay. First game was the Arizona Scorpions taking on the Sioux Falls Sparrows. Now, unfortunately, I was in the process of coming from work, getting some things for work, I should say, and missed the game. So I was able to catch it on the playback. Thank goodness for YouTube. Thank goodness Cam putting everything out there. And it's awesome to be able to just watch the whole game and just sit back and just. It was crazy. First off, 3 interceptions in the first half. I mean, actually, in the first quarter. Like, Who are you throwing to, Ash? All right, but 290 yards passing, 53 yards rushing, 3 passing touchdowns, not bad. 343 yards of total offense for Arizona. Sioux Falls had 321 yards of offense. They had 272 yards passing, very close in the passing yardage. 49 yards rushing, actually very, very close. The difference was I had 3 interceptions, and they were able to convert 4th down at least twice. We did it once. Well, we only tried it once, and we got the 4th down conversion, which was dope. Great game that I watched. The time of possession, we held the ball a little bit longer at 22 minutes, 5 seconds. They held the ball for 21 minutes and 42 seconds. Again, I had 3 turnovers, and Sioux Falls had 2 points. Most of the points were scored between the second and the third quarters. Just like everybody just turned on those gears and never looked back. Honorable mentions in this game from both sides for me were Ryan Owens. I'm sorry. Ryan, you did a fantastic job on the kick returns. Special shout out to Connor Weston and TJ Punk for pulling out some great looking touchdowns, man. Fantastic. Cliff Allen was, perfect with his kicks this game. We had Shad Allen. Now, Bo, this is what I wanted you to kind of weigh in on. Shad Allen, pick 6, strong safety position. Eddie Gage moved over from strong safety to free safety.
Right.
You think that could have been his pick 6?
That was his pick 6. That was his pick 6. But you know what? I'm gonna say this. A lot of people go in on Eddie. I'm gonna say this.
They do.
I'm gonna say this about Eddie. Eddie will get his pick 6 when it is time for him to get his pick 6. I'm not gonna go in on Eddie because Eddie's one of the greatest owners in the business, and I admire his passion about his team, and not only about his team, about his player, and I admire his passion about the SFL, and it's going to be that much sweeter when he gets it. Sometimes it's the fruit that you have to wait the longest for that tastes the sweetest. And I think that I had begun to feel that way because I just got my first pick 6 this season. And so I had that conversation with Eddie, like, dang, I hope I don't have to wait as long. I jokingly, I hope I don't have to wait as long as you to get a pick 6. But at the end of the day, it's gonna happen. And if you look at the way, and I don't want to go on too long about it, but if you look at what Eddie does for his team, if you look at the sacrifices that Eddie makes to his own player for the sake of his team, right? Eddie could have had a pick 6 by now if he would have kept his animations. If he would have left his player where he was, instead of being the selfless person that he is to give those animations to other people and to spread the wealth around, Eddie could have had a pick 6 by now. Okay, so let's not pretend that he's just a sucky player that doesn't have a pick 6. No, he's sharing the wealth. So he'll get his, but that was his. Let's be honest, that was his pick 6. If he'd still, and I'm sure he knows that. But again, the irony and knowing Eddie like I know him, if he had a chance to switch it up and take that position, he probably still would rather have his player get the pick 6 instead of him, because that's how Eddie is, and that's what makes him such a wonderful owner, and that's why he's one of the best in the business. And
you were exactly 100% on point with your sentiment. He said exactly that. He said, if I was still over there, that would have been mine, but I am glad to see Shad get it. And so, very special guy. Very special.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to Jay Ringgold. Shout out to Terrell Davis. And shout out to John Barnhart for capitalize off the passes I threw you, with the end, So shout out to y'all for having the hands to catch it, But Arizona wound up being victorious in the end winning the game 38-27. Feel good game. Last week we won against Baltimore. I was telling Cam that I just knew that was going to be one of the ones that I chose as a content creator, that I just knew we were going to lose that one. See, like I said, you just don't know. You never know. But Bo, what was a game that stuck out to you?
Well, I mean, I wasn't going to pick this one, but since you picked yours, that gives me the liberty to pick mine.
Of course.
So let's go ahead and talk about a little bit of LSG and MXC action, right? Because a lot of people said that this was going to be the game of the week. This was the game that a lot of people wanted to see, and it lived up to the hype. Mm-hmm. It started off kind of lopsided, which was fine by me, because so much of what LSG typically does is pushing forward late in the game. Like it'll be really close the entire game, and we'll just kind of squeak it out at the end. Well, this particular game wasn't that way at all. LSG came out dominating, and we didn't really take our foot off the gas till the fourth quarter. Now, don't get me wrong, I wish we hadn't done so, but, we were up. We were up big time. We were up by like 21 points going into the fourth quarter, or 20, something like that. And it ended up that, MXC mounted a really good comeback, but we held on for the victory. But shout out to Ace, first of all, Ace Finnick, our quarterback. He does an amazing job at taking care of the football the majority of the time. His accuracy is always on point. 31 out of 37 was Ace Finnick, and he did throw one interception, but that happens from time to time. And Ben Charbs, take nothing away from him, an amazing strong safety who's always in the right place at the right time, which is really weird considering he's so new in the league. I think this is only his second or third season. So, kudos to him. But, Ace taking care of the football. And then we got Ike Truckstick McBride, who is just a problem. Like she's the sweetest lady when you talk to her in person, but when she's on that field, she is a problem. And I tell you, I wouldn't want to run into on that field because I'm not trying to get trucked, but people keep trying her and she keeps on trucking, and she's one of the most consistent, dependable backs in the league. She had 21 carries. And then she had a couple of receptions, but a total of 120 yards, I think, something like that for a total yardage, which is just, when you've got a back that you can depend on like that, it really helps everything. It helps your passing game. It helps keep the defense on their toes or off their toes. It helps keep them on their back heels. And, and while I'm talking about the offense, let me shift and give shout out to my defense. My defense shut it down. All right, we shut it down. And I know we may see Mexico City later on, so I don't want to give away too much, but Phoenix Jones had 18 yards. Okay, he had 18 yards total in for his rushing, right? He added a couple of yards receiving, but 18 yards rushing. Phoenix Jones is one of the top 5 backs in the league, and to hold him to 18 yards rushing, I didn't even expect that. That means our defensive line was doing their thing. That means your boy Jukin was acting a fool. That means Tina Begin was breaking arms. All right. And so, that means our entire defensive line was doing their thing, which of course allows the D-backs, such as myself, such as Evan Lacey, such as, Nate Hall, such as Albert Begin, that allows us to just tee off, right? And in my opinion, we've got 3 of the best linebackers in the business in J. Mart, Bogey Barr, and Freddie. And so that allowed, Gunny to get an interception. That allowed, I think Van had an interception. There was a couple. I think there was at least one more interception I'm missing. And then we also too had a forced fumble. That just allowed our defense to tee off. So it was, in my opinion, and we saved our best game for last. Our offense dominated, our defense dominated. This was perhaps our most complete game as a team heading into the playoffs. And I was really happy with the way we performed, probably because, we know Mexico City. Anytime you're playing a team in your division, the Tex-Mex division, we know we beat each other up all the time. And every one of us in this, nobody's going to surprise anybody in the Tex-Mex division. maybe you could throw a wrinkle or two, but nobody's really going to surprise anything. It's just going to be a knockdown, drag out fight. And that's what it was. And we came out on top. So I was really happy about that. And even more so, and I don't want to, I'm going to get a little bit more into this later about what happened after we won the game, when this unlikely series of events came together and everything just came like kismet, and we ended up getting the bye. So we'll talk more about that a little bit later, but I think we had like a 6% chance of getting the bye after we won our game. So the locker room was going nuts the whole evening as we watched Jacksonville and as we watched the Charleston game. So, but we'll talk about that later.
Sometimes it's in the stars,
Yeah, well, it was definitely. Hopefully that means something for us going forward.
Yeah, we definitely gonna find out. But another game I like to talk about every time it happens is Vice Wars. Love Las Vegas and the Denver games. Love their rivalry. Every time those two teams get together, chat is always on fire. They're always lively, things of that nature. And for those that don't understand about the Vice Wars, maybe you're too young. Vice City colors with the baby blue and the pink and things like that. So, yeah. It's just, we got a whole bunch of newbies in the league. They may not know. So
right.
But awesome game to behold. Las Vegas wound up pulling out the win, 45-34. Las Vegas had 401 passing yards, only 28 yards rushing, for 429 yards of total offense with 5 passing touchdowns. Denver, in comparison, had 407 passing yards, a slightly better rushing game with 67 yards, with 474 yards of a total offense, with only 2 passing touchdowns and 2 rushings. Las Vegas held the ball a little bit less than Denver, 4 minutes less actually. They only held the ball for 20 minutes versus Denver holding it for 24. But Las Vegas had the answer for Denver in this game, scoring a touchdown in the first. They had 14 points in the second and the third quarters, and they also scored 10 in the fourth. Fantastic win for Las Vegas. Away at that. Anytime you can go, you can be out in another stadium and win something of that nature, of that magnitude, is awesome to behold. So let's go through some shout outs for this game. So quarterback Joseph Green balled out, 32 completions, 41 attempts. Completion percentage, I should say, at 78.5. Passing yards 401, 5 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. He even had a carry. See, some other honorable mentions would be Mason Kirby, wide receiver, had 7 receptions for 143 yards and a touchdown. On the defensive side of the ball, we have Chris Mangle with a interception, as well as Max Jackson with an interception, and even Day Drury. Oh man, everybody's capitalizing, huh? Let's see. On defensive side, Denver's side, we're gonna give some accolades to Bailey O'Shaughnessy, running back, has been a fantastic addition to Denver since he joined them. And he was able to get 21 carries for 64 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. And his longest rushing yards was 18. Awesome job. And Logan Keel, wide receiver, had 7 receptions for 122 yards, 1 reception touchdown. On the defensive side of the ball, let's give some shout outs to Nick Kinder with his interception, and Adam Wiseman with his interception for 15 yards. So great game to behold. If you want to see any of the games that we have talked about from this season and all past seasons, you can check out the SFL's YouTube page. Now, Bo, did you have another game that you want to discuss before we move into the playoffs?
Yeah, and I won't spend much time going over it because I do want to talk about the playoffs. But one of the games that we were watching very closely, because this was a game that determined whether or not we were going to have a bye, And I feel a little different, funny talking about it because I have friendship ties to Jacksonville, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't happy they lost. but what I will say is this: that was an incredible game. It was a shootout. For all shootouts, you're talking about almost 1,100 yards of total offense, right? Jacksonville with 542, Carolina with 527 total yards of offense. Jacksonville with just 398 passing yards, Carolina with 347. I mean, these juggernauts were going back and forth. You would look at J.R.Lawless of Jacksonville, and you would look at his 200 and some odd yard day. He had 203 yards rushing, or 203 total yards, and 202, excuse me. And you would look at that and you would think, oh my God, that's a monster day, which it is typically, until you take a look at Logan Jack, who just went absolutely, like, if he was Logan from Wolverine, like, he just went ballistic. He literally had almost 300 yards of total offense by himself. Logan Jack had 182 yards rushing and 83 yards through the air as well. So you're talking 360 plus total yards, 260 total yards of offense by one player. So Logan Jack was just a beast. He scored 3 rushing touchdowns. They had no defense that could stop Logan Jack for any extended period of time. And then when you add that to what one of the best receivers in the SFL, Harish Prasad, when you add that to what he was able to do with another 100-yard receiving day, they scored quick. Carolina scored quickly. If you look at the time of possession, Jacksonville actually dominated the time of possession, 25 minutes and 14 seconds to 18 minutes and 40 seconds by Carolina. But they scored quick. When Carolina had the ball, they didn't keep it long because they were too busy getting to the end zone. We watched that game. It was a great game. Marcus did a relatively good job taking care of the football, which has been an area of concern for him in Jacksonville. He did have 2 interceptions, but that's actually not a horrible day, considering when you throw the ball 400 yards, when you throw the ball that much, you got 41 pass attempts. To have 2 interceptions is not a bad day. 60 pass attempts. You had 60 pass attempts and 41 completions. So 2 interceptions, not a bad day at all. So, but at the end of the day, Carolina just did a much better job at executing. This game was never really in question. Jacksonville was down 14-38 at half. Okay. And it wasn't until towards the end of the game, I don't want to say garbage time, but towards the end of the game, where Jacksonville finally started putting some things together, and they made it close. They actually could have tied the game at one point had they got an onside kick. But they never led, and Carolina was in control of this game from beginning to end. And because Jacksonville won this game, also too, because Charleston was able to pull out their victory, we actually in LSG got the 4th spot, which means we got that last bye.
And like I said, man, sometimes it's in the cards for you.
I think it was like a 6% chance that both of those things would happen, but it happened. And hopefully we'll make that bye count, and we'll thank Jacksonville and Charleston later.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Speaking of which, we're gonna go ahead and slide on over to the playoffs now. Very interesting, very, very interesting matchups that we are gonna have coming down the pipeline on Saturday and Sunday for wild card games. First, if you notice at the bottom of the graphic that you were seeing, number 1 is the Vancouver Legion sitting at 11-1, followed by the Baltimore Vultures at 10-2. Then Louisiana is at 8-4, the number 3 position, and Bo Martin Jr.'s Lone Star Glory is number 4, 8-4. All right. So matchups will include the Jacksonville number 10 Jacksonville Kings taking on the number 7 London Knights. Both teams are sitting at 7-5. These matchups will take place on Saturday, April the 23rd, 2:30 p.m. Eastern on Next Level. So, what do you think about this matchup?
This has the potential to be one of the best games this weekend.
Indeed.
If I'm picking, if of the 4 games that are out here, if you're going to allow me to only watch one, this one has the most sparks that could fly. You've got both of these quarterbacks who love to sling the rock. Marcus Dunhill, loves to sling the rock. Johnny Pickler, we know, always loves to sling the rock. Both of them have dominant defenses. It could either be a low scoring game or it could be a complete shootout. You don't know which way this game is going to go. I don't know who's going to win it. I could toss a coin and tell you that would be about as good a guess as I could give. One thing's for sure, it's going to be a knockdown, drag out fight. Both of these teams, and forget your ranking or your seed. Forget about that. That's irrelevant with these two. They're going to go at it. Johnny Pickler's got things on his mind that he's trying to accomplish. And same thing with Marcus Dunhill. He's one of the few that actually know what the SFL championship tastes like, and he's trying to see it again. So this is my if I had to pick one game, this is my pick of the game to watch.
Indeed. I think it's going to come down to which quarterback makes the least amount of mistakes, because both of these quarterbacks have been known to sling the rock a lot and have a lot of interceptions because of it. So, I'm not going to guess either. I will, typically I would normally try to pick, even though technically I could, because I don't have a dog in it. We're sitting in the back chilling, but technically I could.
So who you picking?
Yeah, I think I will. It's going to be hard because they're both 75. They both good teams. I have friends on both sides. This is going to be very hard. It's not about your friends. It's about the guests. It's about the guests. Let's go. Oh boy. They both have weapons. It's hard because they both have weapons. And if I'm looking at it from that standpoint,
I'm gonna let you know this is my pick. I only need one. This is my pick.
I think London is gonna pull this out. I really do.
Fair enough.
Whew. Jacksonville, don't get mad at me. Marcus, don't get mad at me. Saturday, April 23rd, at 4:45 p.m. Eastern, also on Next Level Sports. The number 11 Mexico City Aztecs, set in the 7-5, will be taking on the number 16 Charleston Predators, also at 7-5. Great game to watch. I think this is going to be the battle of the defenses. Whoever have the best defense in this game, because both teams are very, very capable of scoring on each other. They both have Phoenix Jones, those star factors, and Matt Wilson, Jeffrey Daggs, and so many weapons. And then Charleston, oh my gosh, with his name is escaping me. I cannot think of
Quintez?
Well, definitely Quintez, which that still, it just still feels weird just seeing him over there because I'm so used to him being in a Houston uniform. But with Quintez and his connections with Buchanan Simons.
Okay.
Buchanan Simons. I mean, they have a multitude of weapons that would be able to penetrate, but I think because of the tenure of the team and the experience, I think Mexico City is going to win this. Okay.
And you know what? I would tend to agree with you on that as far as I'm really happy that Quintez has found a way. It seems like he found his lane. Coming back, when he first got back, he was a little bit wobbly, trying to find his feet. And it seems like he has found his footing at just the right time. He was able to beat a really, really good Florida team. And so I think he's finding his footing at just the right time. I just think that I kind of want to apologize a little bit to Charleston because I think we really ticked off Mexico City. We really ticked off Mexico. I think Lone Star really ticked them off. And so I'm giving Mexico City the victory only because I think that they're going to be extra motivated because they lost the South Division championship title to us. And so I think they're going to be uber focused this week. And I think Charleston is going to be the recipient of them taking their aggression out on what they couldn't do with Lone Star. So for that reason, I'm going Mexico City.
Whew, all righty then. On Sunday, April the 24th at 2:30 p.m. Eastern on Next Level, the number 9 team, Tulsa Desperados, will take on number 8 seed, DC Dragons, both sitting at 7 and 5. Both of them have those glimpses of brilliance that they show. I think if Tulsa plays a clean game, I think they have a chance. They're going against DC Dragons, Kevin Say and company, Vast Synergy. You have a lot of different. They have this momentum that they didn't have before. This whole season has been just a turnaround season for them. They're doing much better than they have. So with that being said, Tulsa, I hate to do this because you all were my old team, man. But I think DC is going to be able to eke out the win because you don't necessarily know what to prepare for with them, because I think this is their first time actually even making the playoffs. So I'm sure Destro has something special. He's been in the league forever. So I'm sure he has something special for this occasion. And I don't know if Tulsa's going to be able to defend it.
Yeah. Tulsa's one of those teams that is kind of along the same lines of LSG when I say that nobody gave them a shot this year.
Underrated.
Nobody gave Tulsa a shot, and they came through and they just proved everybody wrong. JQ, nobody, even though he was one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league, nobody expect him to perform like he did. And he has. He's been proving people up wrong all season. And then you've got Doug Brown. Everybody knew how good he was in the minors, right? But sometimes that doesn't always translate over into the SFL. But he was able to, he was a little rocky at the start of the season. All of a sudden, he found his lane, no pun intended, and he's been running wild ever since. And so nobody gave Tulsa a shot, and because I think they snuck up on a lot of people. I say all that to say I don't know that they're going to sneak up on Destro. But what I will say is DC is such an anomaly. Sometimes they look like this unstoppable force, and then other times they look average. I'm really conflicted because DC put a whooping on us, so it's not like it's not like they're not a good team. I everything in me says that this should be DC's game. But Tulsa's been proving everybody wrong all season. And, with the combination of Doug Brown and JQ, not to mention Gabriel Manning, I think I'm going Tulsa here.
All righty then. Last game will be the Florida Storm taking on the Sioux Falls Sparrows. Sunday, April 24th at 4:45 p.m. Eastern on Next Level as well. Florida is the number 12th seed. Sioux Falls is the number 5th seed. Now, we just beat Sioux Falls. Was not an easy task. They will be ready for you in that backfield, obviously. Ron Cochran does like to throw the ball. So, Ron, please be careful. Then secondary. Sioux Falls has been struggling for the past few seasons. They seem to have found that recipe that they needed to get back on track with adding GP Wells to the locker room. Florida Hall of Fame. That's all I think about when I think about Florida. I think about all the championships. I think about all of that experience that they have. Will that experience be enough to get them past Sioux Falls? I think this season it will. If they happen to meet each other in future seasons, I'm not sure. But I think Sioux Falls is just now coming into that, getting into the the rhythm of things. I don't know if they have found that rhythm yet against the Florida Storm, so I'm going to Florida Storm with this one.
Okay, and that's not a bad choice at all. Anytime you got Ron Cochran throwing the ball, so and especially when you got Bullitt in the backfield, that's not a bad choice at all. This is going to be a really good game too. This is another one that has a propensity to be a high scoring affair. Everybody knows that Ron Cochran likes to sling the ball. He's another one that you can expect to throw, 40, maybe 50 times in a game. So that being said, that kind of goes into what I was going to say about who wins the game, because Sioux Falls' defensive backfield is not to be messed with. I was looking at the rankings of players, only because I'm a cornerback, and I like to know how my other fellow cornerbacks in the league are doing. And I came across where I ranked as far as cornerback play, and I ranked in the top 5 in as far as cornerbacks go. So I'm like, all right, well, let me look who's above me here. And lo and behold, if 2, not 1, but 2 of the cornerbacks that are above me play for Sioux Falls. Okay, so that means both of the cornerbacks in Sioux Falls, Ernest McCray and I believe the other way, I think it's Terrell Davis. I think it's John Barnhart and Terrell Davis. I forget, the names are escaping me. But 2 of their cornerbacks are above me in the top 5. And so that means, if you decide to sling that rock back there, you throwing into some alligator waters. And so, if I'm, and I don't want to give away a lot of strategy, but if I'm Florida, I'm leaning a lot on Charlie Bullet Boletsky to go ahead and do what he does, because in my opinion, Sioux Falls is going to be laying back waiting on you to throw that rock. Now, that's not to say don't throw it, because you got to spread it around. But I'm leaning on Bullet to try to get us through, because Sioux Falls defense is an amazing defense, and they finally figured out how to use their running back, which I'm very happy about in Sioux Falls. All that being said, like you said, I think experience is the great equalizer. I think that Ron Cochran and Bullet Boletsky figure out a way to get it done in Florida and come away with the win.
Right. So we'll see how right we are, man. It's going to be some interesting. Is there any team that you, Lone Star, would rather play, or it don't matter?
You mean of the 8 that are playing this weekend? No, we'd rather have a bye.
No, I mean, is there one that you, after your bye, is there one team that y'all would rather see than the others, or it just don't matter?
So all of these teams, of course, everybody made it to the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think I'd tell you who I would rather avoid. Okay. I'll give you 2 teams that I don't want to see.
Okay.
I don't want to see DC. I don't like Kevin Say. He made me mad.
Okay, listen. It's gonna be another Matt Chima situation. Yeah, about him.
And listen, I swear Kevin Say had like 800 yards on us, man. I don't like that dude, man. I don't want to see DC. And then I'll give you one other team that I probably don't want to see. I probably don't want to see. I don't think I want to see London. I don't see one. London seems to be gelling at just the right time. Yeah. Seem to be peaking. They've got their offense clicking. Their offense has already been crazy. They've got their defense kicking, but lo and behold, they found a running game. And so, they finally figured out. They finally figured that out, and that makes them dangerous. I don't think I want to see them. So, I think that we stand a good chance against all of them, but I don't want to see them. If I could pick 2 to just go ahead and knock each other out, I would get rid of those 2.
Well, we're gonna see how right you are about that, man. But all right, everybody, stay tuned for expansion bid hopeful interviews coming right up. All right, welcome back to my expansion bid hopefuls interview. Today, I have a wonderful guest, one of two guests that I will have on the show for the expansion bid interviews, and he is Mr. Jim Copeland Jr. of Jim Copeland Jr., and he is applying for the, hold on, let's see here, the Lincoln Spiders. How are you doing today, Jim?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's been a while, but I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, it has been. I'm glad you're back too. I'm sorry about that. I guess just, I didn't realize how much time had passed since the last time you've been on the show. It's crazy.
Life happens.
Indeed, indeed. So what's been going on with you? What's some good news you want to share with us?
I'm working.
Nice.
I've been growing as a person, both spiritually and physically, mentally. I've been out of trouble. I know the league knows about my past, so I've been out of trouble for a year and a few months, so everything's going better.
That's good to hear. Like Jill Scott said, I don't know if you're familiar with Jill Scott, but she said sometimes you got to swim upstream, so
Yes,
as long as you're doing the right thing, man, that's all that matters. But for those that did not catch your interview, give us a little bit of information about yourself. So what's your age, your hometown, interesting fact about yourself, and your favorite NFL team?
I'm 23. I am from a small town in Georgia. I'll just call it Polk County, Georgia. Interesting fact, I'm a big Saints fan because of the city of New Orleans. Can't cheer from the dark birds, it never could.
Okay. Why? What happened?
I floated. I tried to cheer for them for so long, and then they just got worse and worse and worse. And
But you go for the division rivals, though? Out of everybody you could have chose, you had to.
Yes, ma'am. But
right next door.
Hmm?
Hey, right next door.
Have you been to New Orleans? The city of the New Orleans Saints is beautiful.
Yeah, that's what I hear. I haven't been yet. I hope to go someday. But I remember what they did on our field that time, so I'm still not over that yet. But but yeah, man. To each his own. To each his own. So how did you find out about the SFL in the first place?
I have been around the SFL as many different names because I couldn't stick in one place for long.
Okay.
My original name is Matthew Lee. I found the SFL in originally season 8. Sorry about that. Season 8. And I've been in it ever since.
Okay. Season 8?
Off and
Wow.
on, but I've loved every minute of it.
I had no idea you was in the league that long, man.
Yes, ma'am.
So before I get into the expansion bid questions, have you played sports before?
Water boy in football for my last year in high school that I didn't finish. I grew up all around sports and everything else. I've always been a big sports person.
Okay. Got it. So I was wondering, being in the SFL, does it kind of quench sort of a thirst that you have to be involved in sports, like to be that football player that you always wanted to be? Does that kind of quench your thirst to being here?
Yes, ma'am. In several different ways. It's always given me that experience in the community and that chance to develop myself as more of a outer person and inner person, because I've always been a loner. So in the SFL, you cannot really be a loner because everybody wants to talk to everybody. And that's what I really love about it, is the community and the development of people.
That's very true. And I think a lot of times people leave and come back because of the community. Something may have happened on the field with their player, with their team, but I think when people retire and they decide to come back, it's because of somebody or a few people in the community that made that impact in their life like that. So this is a great place to be able to find, I've said, some of the best friends that you could ever have in your life, and that you probably never would have met unless you were here. So you've been in the league since season 8. So what makes now the right time to go out for an expansion team?
I'm in the right position with myself in almost every way possible. I'm making decent money. I'm able to be as active as I can. I'm not in trouble. I believe that right now is the right time because I'm doing good in my life, and I want to be able to push that forward and try to help others do just as good, if not better.
Awesome.
So I want to propel myself into others and help them grow as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what made you choose the logo, the spiders, and the spider as your mascot, and Lincoln as your destination? Can you give us the backstory on that?
There's not really much of a backstory. It was just something that, I thought it was a territory that I wasn't very familiar with, that the league wasn't very familiar with. I don't think the leagues ever have a team by the name of Spiders. That may be correct. That may even be incorrect, but I believe it's something uncharted territory, and I figured I'd try to do something a little bit different.
Yeah, definitely it was. I don't recall, and I've searched the history books for different teams, and I don't remember the Spiders being one of them. So you will be the first one. Now, Lincoln, so what state is that going to represent? Like what demographic, what geography would that represent?
Right here in the great United States.
Say that one more time, dear. Your mic went out.
Nebraska. Right here in the great United States.
All right, yes, Nebraska. Ma'am. Okay. Let me ask you something. What is there to do in Nebraska? Just on a different note.
It's a great college. It's a great college area. It's been known for the Cornhuskers over the years. It's got plenty of wide open field opportunities, and I just figured maybe grow this league in more of the United States and help that build up a little bit more.
Absolutely. I definitely understand. When I think about Nebraska, I think about the book Stand from Stephen King. And I think they were talking about cornfields in there. It was crazy, but I just think about the Stand every time I hear Nebraska. But so why should the owners ultimately award you one of the 4 teams that are coming up for expansion?
I'm sorry, you cut out. Can you ask that again?
Sure. So why should the owners award you a team of one of the 4 expansion bid teams?
Because I have an unbelievable drive, an unbelievable desire to be seen as great. I have been in and out of front offices since as long as I can remember. I started in Mexico City in their front office. I left there, did good there. Ramos still in, and me still talk a lot, and he's like, man, you did good when you were here. You had the drive, you had the desire. If you could do that again, I don't see why they wouldn't give you a team.
Fantastic. So talk a little bit about your tenure here. That since you've been here since season 8, tell us a little bit about your journey through the SFL. I noticed that you mentioned different front offices. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Originally started as a UDFA defensive back for the Oklahoma City Renegades.
Wow.
Which know as the Arizona Scorpions.
Indeed.
In fact, I was one of the last members from Miss Ashley Jackson. I was in the
Hold on. Say that one more time. Where you
I
talking
played
about
defensive back there, then went to
say that
then
last
went to
part
Denver.
Can you say that last part?
I was in the locker room before you and Eddie Gage got there. I was one of the last members of that team.
Wow. That's crazy. Small world.
But I left Oklahoma City. I went to Denver, went to, I think I had one other stop, and I think it was Mexico City. But I played about 4 or 5 other teams, but there's only been 2 teams that really felt like home, and that was Tulsa and Mexico City.
Okay, so your front office experience, what type of experience did you have in those front offices that you told us about with Mexico City? And how do you think that's going to translate to ownership?
Mexico City, I was basically as close to ownership as I have ever been. GM, and I was even talking to Ramos about owner out there, but they've already got 2, and he was scared that 3 would have been in company. 3 would have been way too many. He was just, but I did almost everything with Ramos. I found the rookies. I found the free agents. I was able to help him set up they were supposed to work on their play progression, do everything. I did almost all the draft interviews, everything else. Matter of fact, the year I was in Mexico City, Queen City's director of communications, Tom Riddle, aka Andre, my number 1 pick.
Andre Krim. Okay. Very notable pickup for you. Okay. So as far as your front office goes, like your plan for the Spiders, GM coaching, do you already have that plan together? Do you already have a select
the Spiders consist of me, and that's about it.
Okay, so you and that
Spiders right now are me by myself, but the door is wide open for anybody.
Okay, so have you been actively trying to seek out front office members and things like that? Are you kind of waiting to see if you get the team first, or how are you on that?
About 50-50. I've approached a lot of people that I believe could do better in a position. I'm not going to throw any names out there just in case they go, oh, wait, he did get a team. Let me see what I got.
Right.
But I have approached certain people, and they've been like, no, I'm already with this team, or I'm already with this, and I want to end my career. I want to do that. But I believe if I'm awarded a team, that it's going to open a lot more doors.
Indeed, it will. So, what did you like about Tulsa?
Everything, the way it's ran from the top to the bottom. Dion Hawkins to Berto DeMoa to Jeff Swift on the defensive side. Everybody has been incredible.
Indeed, they have been doing their thing.
There's not a person in that locker room I can't pull aside and go. There's not a person in that locker room I can't pull aside minutes and go, you real quick, I just need to talk. And they were like, yeah, if I got time.
It's true. I don't know if you know. You should know. I did play for Tulsa. That when I first started.
Yes, ma'am. That is where you started your career.
That is, and that is a good group of guys over there. So I definitely understand why you said that.
Yes, ma'am. And we are in the playoffs this year. So
indeed, I see. And I mean, I'm watching incredible interceptions after interceptions. I saw King Rashid's pick 6. I think I'm going to include that in the show if I haven't already. It was totally dope. So they've been doing what they have to do over there. So kudos to all of those guys, Jaden Swift and Berto Gamora and Dion Hawkins over there. Got the right recipe.
Yes, ma'am.
So what is your team philosophy going to be? What do you want? Well, what is your team philosophy going to be? And then what do you want the Spiders to be known for?
I'm an old school football more fan. I prefer the power run, the heavy defense. So I would prefer to be like an old 49ers team where you were going to get ran down the gut and then pounded hard on defense. Something better just run away. But more, I'd like to be known as an active team, a positive team, somebody that wins with respect. I want to be able to build a locker room that, okay, even if we win, we're respectful, we're good game people, we're out there going, okay, we won, but y'all made it where we had to fight for this.
And that is important to establish, especially with all of the new rookies coming in to the league. You know, they want to know what makes your team or what's going to make your team a destination for them, you know. So I think that is important to get, you know, what you're going to be all about out there for anybody that's listening. What is a message that you want to give to the owners, particularly about the Lincoln Spiders, that they should know?
The best message I could put out there is, if I'm awarded a team, you will not see somebody try harder. You will not see nobody go harder than I will to see the gate, to succeed for the long haul. I will go day and night trying to make sure this team is successful.
Okay, so the business side of being an owner, do you think you're going to be able to handle that with your busy schedule that you have? I know that you have a couple of days off during the week and things like that. You're a very hard worker and things like that. Do you think that's going to be an issue?
No, ma'am. I believe I'm able to get the team and realize I have the team. I will make it fit into my schedule. Okay. Because right now, all I've got 2 doctor's appointments here and there, and I work second shift at a factory. Otherwise, I don't sleep that much, so I can hit and run all day long.
Okay, so with the coaching and everything, I know you said that it was just you yourself, you know, right now. But do you have any experience in coaching and anything like that? Like, do you have the game and scouting and stuff like that?
Yes, ma'am. I have been a scout before. I do have the game. I have both digital and disc copies of it.
Okay, awesome. So you've been practicing. All right. Okay. Cool beans. Is there with your tenure, you have moved around to different teams, different places and different spaces. Is there a particular reason for that? Or were you just trying to see what works for you? Or were you having issues in those respective locker rooms?
It was all about trying to prepare myself for the chance of ownership, and trying to figure out how everything runs. So from one person, I might learn this. From the next person, I might learn something else.
Right.
And so it was all about growth and learning and trying to, like you said, maybe fit in space.
Indeed. So the colors that you chosen for your team, any inspiration for that? Or does it come from somewhere, or you just kind of saw that those colors went together and
the colors just magically fell together?
Okay.
I believe they're some of the nicest uniforms that I've ever done. I do random uniforms just to do it.
Okay.
I've got a server on my phone that is just a whole bunch of uniforms I've done, and those were the ones that fit the best.
Gotcha. So tell me, as an owner, what do you think the hardest challenge is going to be as a prospective new owner? What do you think one of the most difficult challenges will be for you? And how are you planning on overcoming that?
The lack of coaching experience for myself. Yes, I've tried to learn, but there's other stuff I could always learn. You've always got room for improvement. And I believe I will eventually overcome and get good at it, but everything's going to come in time.
All right. Gotcha. All right, so Jim, just a couple other questions for you. How business minded are you when it comes to like running your team store, when it comes to the promotions of your team and the league? How active do you plan on being with that?
As active as possible. I'd like to try to learn everything about it and try to learn as much as I can and be able to make us one of the more productive team in the leagues.
Okay. And how do you have any like business experience, things of that nature?
Not really.
Okay, no worries.
I've always been a factory worker and everything else, so I'm not that familiar with that side of it. But if they need somebody to jump on or something, I can always do that.
Okay, sounds good. Nothing wrong with that. I'm sure a lot of the owners out here don't have a business degree. I just kind of ask because I do know that is one aspect of being an owner is to handle that business side, but you also have the team aspect, whether, making sure progressions are done, making sure you have that right team plan for the team build and all that good stuff, So, how do you handle adversity? Because in my mind, whenever you're getting a new team, right? Expansion team, something brand new, you may have a few free agents that come to join you. So those are some bills that you can just count on that's going to be solid for you in those respective positions. But when you have rookies that are brand new, that are bronze and some of them are copper, and you have to build those players up, like how patient, how are you going to handle the adversity that comes with that? And you have them in your ear, hey, we're not winning games yet, what's going on? How are you going to handle that?
I think the best thing you could do in any situation is kind of take it day by day, kind of little by little, and sit there and go through and go, okay, it's the way we'd like for them to play. How would you like to play? And how do we develop it into the way that would make that person happy?
Okay. Gotcha. You have any dreams?
While also being productive.
Okay. Gotcha. You have any dreams or any goals or any aspirations that you want to aspire to besides being an owner?
I am trying to become an auto mechanic in real life.
Okay.
I got my GED recently, and I'm trying to. Thank you. We all know that was a big for me because I've been trying since 18, and I'm 23 now. So, big weight off my back.
Indeed.
But I applied for a local school down here called Georgia Northwestern Technical College, and I'm hoping to get into automotive fundamentals to start off everything.
Phenomenal. Listen, I already told you, man, get a G. I think you told me the day you graduated, when you got it, and you were so excited, and I was so happy for you too, because you had expressed to me that you had been trying and things like that, and you didn't even know if you were going to make it, and I was like, don't sell yourself short, you got it, and you did. So
yes, ma'am. You have always been one of my biggest supporters, and I couldn't have been more thankful.
No, man, anytime. I think everybody needs, a little bit of support sometimes, especially when they're doing something that's positive and things that can be a little scary sometimes. So glad I could help, and yes, the little I did. So, but yeah, so this is going to be an interesting time. Now, before I let you go, give us your thoughts on the playoffs and how everything is shaping up. Did you get a chance to see the show? The scheduling for playoffs?
Not yet, but that's in my list of things to look at. But I believe that every game is going to have to be taken one by one. And I believe anybody has a chance once you make into that playoffs to do anything.
Indeed.
We've seen teams from those farthest down come up and do stuff. So anything's possible.
It's true. It's definitely going to be a battle. And it's hard to say who is going to be victorious because while I'm doing the podcast, I asked this question: who will win? One of the questions I would ask is who will win the championship, and the consensus was Baltimore, of course. But you can't count anybody out because anybody can have a bad game. Anybody could fall short, and
Yes, ma'am.
I just think it's going to be really interesting and too close to call for anybody,
Yes, ma'am.
Now, one more question before I actually let you go. If you are not awarded a team, will you try to join another team this season? Maybe outside linebacker position or anything like that?
No, I am a tight end too, and I would gladly return to tight end two positions at Tulsa. If they would gladly have me back, I'd come back.
Hey, all right, Dion. Come on, man. Come on, just think about it. All right. But yeah, that's only if this doesn't work out for you. I do wish you the best of luck, Jim. I know owners do take this very seriously, when adding to their group.
Yes,
and I wish you the best of luck. You definitely have the tenure. You've definitely been around. You know how it works. You've been in front offices. You have the game. You've been practicing things like that, so you have an understanding. So they got a big job on their hands to fill these 4 positions, these 4 spots.
Yes, ma'am. But I believe we have some of the greatest owners in the world, so I believe if anybody could do it, they could do it.
Indeed. Absolutely. So before I let you go, is there any last words you'd like to give everybody?
I'd just like to say thank you. There's a cornerback for London. His name is Roman Ranex.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to thank him. He has been a big supporter for me as long as well. So I appreciate both of y'all. Oh
man, anytime. Shout out Roman. You need that support group to do good things. So, all right, Jim. Good luck to you, and I'll be seeing you. I'll be seeing you around. All right, everyone, and welcome back to my expansion Bid Hopefuls interview. And newcomer to the league, but he has made a heck of a splash since he's been here. His name is Mr. Ethan Musulin, and he will be putting in his expansion bid for the New York Gargoyles. I should also tell you that he's also known as John Michael Sutter, tight end for the Baltimore Vultures, and he is the offensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Navigators. So, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing fantastic. I'm super excited about these expansion bids coming up. Everybody is just presenting some good stuff.
Yeah, I've been from what I've seen. Some of the ones that have come in through some of the other shows that have been out there, and a lot of them have been really good. And I'm kind of excited to see how everything turns out. Indeed.
Well, as I stated before, you are fairly new to the league. So first of all, welcome to my show. This is your first time being on here.
Yep.
So, hey, I'm glad to have you on. Give us a little overview of yourself, though, before we get started with everything. So what is your age, your hometown, an interesting fact about yourself, and your favorite NFL team?
All right, so I'm currently 37 years old. Originally born and raised in Torrance, California, one of the little suburbs out here in LA. Currently living out in Pasadena. One of the things I think would be kind of the cooler things about me is that, and this is way back when now. It's been almost about 17 and a half years ago. I was on Wheel of Fortune.
Really?
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. I was stiff as a board at 19 years old. I kind of wish I had done it a little later so I could be a little more relaxed and everything. But I had a great time. I won my game. I won the bonus round. Ended up getting a car out of it, which was really cool. That was one of the highlights of my late teens for sure.
Oh, nice. What kind of car was it?
It was a 2004 Jeep Liberty.
Oh, nice.
It was a nice car, not great on mileage, but it was a nice car to have.
Hey, I bet it was, especially, since they pretty much gave it to you. So, like, of course.
Pretty much. I mean, I had to pay the taxes on it, but yeah, I pretty much.
Of course. Well, that's kudos. Now, who is your favorite NFL team?
I am a masochist because my favorite team is the Chargers. I am nothing but the epitome of pain. That Charger fandom has been fairly recent, though. If you'd asked me that back in like the 90s and the early 2000s, I was a diehard Steeler fan. I was definitely all in for Pittsburgh going Super Bowl, that sort of thing. And then after they won in like 06, 07 or somewhere around there, I kind of floated between teams. I was a Texans fan for a while, and then eventually just kind of floated down into the Chargers right before they moved out of San Diego, and that's kind of where I've stuck my stake down for now.
Okay, interesting. Like, why so many different teams? Is it because of the players that were there that kind of drew you in, or was it?
Well, I can tell you right now, one of the reasons I became a Pittsburgh fan was, it was because I saw Burt Reynolds in a Steeler jacket on one of his sitcoms he was on. I might have been Evening Shade, I don't know. But that was kind of the impetus of like, oh, hey, that's a football team and they're pretty good. I'll root for them. And then they had that run in like '94 where they almost made it, but they lost to the Chargers in the championship, and that kind of was like, okay, yeah, this is a team I can get behind. I didn't know any of the players except for like Neil O'Donnell, but that was it. But it was a fun little team, and I followed them for a while. Went through the era of Slash, went through the era of Tommy Maddox, and the first few years of Big Ben, and I think it was like around 2011 after because my aunt was a diehard Packers fan, and then her and I had a little trading back and forth during that time, and then it was like right after that I think I kind of started to float away a little bit from having a favorite football team because I was getting into fantasy football. And that was more like, I just want to have a really fun game, want to watch a really good game. And then I was like, that kind of floated away. And like, I was kind of rooting for the Texans a little bit because they were a new team. I was kind of going for a little bit of an underdog story there. And then all the news started coming out with the Chargers. I'm like, okay, yeah, I kind of want to, I'll kind of float over here for now. And I've been there ever since.
Hey, I understand, You have your teams.
At the end of the day, I'm pretty much just the anti-LA player. You know what I mean? Like, my favorite teams are Chargers, Angels, Clippers, Ducks.
Love it and note it. It's just everybody likes their teams. They have their teams for a certain reason. And I was just curious as to why you had like 3. So it's nothing wrong with it. I'm a Bears and I'm a Falcons fan.
It's a case of, oh, hey, I like this team. Then I kind of wandered off and just like, oh, I like this team now. And then I wandered off. And
I love it. So how do you find the SFL?
I found the SFL about a year and change ago. This was right after everything started blowing up with the pandemic and everything. Was trying to get my sports fix and everything like that, and saw one of those videos. I think it was from Sports Gamers Online talking about the SFL, about how it's keeping football going in the midst of everything going on across the world. I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. And it wasn't using Madden, it wasn't using the modern software, and that kind of felt like a little bit of a throwback. That felt pretty cool. So after looking at that, I'm like, okay, I'll take a look at this, and found the Twitch channel, started watching the games, started getting into it. I'm like, okay, I can get into this, and ended up joining the Discord. Sometime around the halfway point of season 17, there were openings for broadcasting, so I ended up signing up for play-by-play, and from there it was just like, okay, we're going into the weeds for this.
Indeed, and you really have. You have been making an impact since you got here. Joining the broadcast team is definitely a way to increase your stock and show owners, especially when it comes to times like this when you are putting in for an expansion bid? What have you done for the SFL? How long have you been here? Usually those are some of the things that they look at. When you come in and you take on such a task as broadcasting something so important and you excel at it as you have, it makes a difference. And it shows that you are more than just a player here. You're taking the money, the subscription money that you're paying, and you are utilizing it in a way to get more out of the league. And that's important.
Absolutely.
SFL Crunch Time. How did that opportunity fall into your lap to be able to host?
So I didn't really come in as a host. When the first things came out for Crunch Time, when they were calling it like SFL Center or something like that, I wanted to come in doing graphic work because I have a bit of a background doing graphic design. My dad did a whole lot of graphic design. He was a master at Photoshop. He could sketch up a whole world in a matter of hours. He was so good at it, and I kind of took after him a little bit in getting into the graphic work and everything like that. And that was kind of what I was thinking of. I'm just going to put together a score line, put together a stat line, and do some Photoshop work and call it a day. And then I hear it's like, oh, hey, we need a co-host, just someone to kind of recap the games and ask some questions and things like that. Like, would you be interested in doing that? And I kind of I thought about it for a second, like, I think I can do it. I don't mind. People say I got a nice little personality, and I don't know what they see in that, but that's their opinion, not mine. But I had a great chance to get up there, and Josh Zirkle, awesome guy as he is. We coordinated things out. We figured out good days to tape and everything like that, and things have just flowed beautifully after that. And if anything, it's helped me kind of let my hair down a little bit more, to have a little bit more fun with the league. Because when I first came in broadcasting, I was very stiff, tried to be super professional, everything like that. Didn't get a chance to really kind of let loose and have that chance to have fun. Which is, they say the NFL's the no fun league. We're the sort of fun league. We want to have fun out here. But that was a good opportunity there. Allow me to channel a little bit more of my humor, a little more of my fun side, and that's really helped me out a lot in my broadcasting as well.
Phenomenal. And I tried broadcasting for it. It can be a little scary your first time. But it is about the practice and everything that you have, that you put forth, and how you get more comfortable. And eventually it'll be just like riding a bike, that easy. But tell me, Ethan, why do you think the time is now for the owners to award you a team?
So I would say it's due time for me to get a team, mostly because this is the biggest expansion we've had in recent times in the SFL. We're looking at going from 24 to 28 squads. We don't know what's on the horizon for our next bit of expansion. We could go to 30, could go to 32. We don't know where, or any of those things. This is the biggest opportunity to get a franchise in the SFL. I also believe I don't want to say because I'm better than everybody or anything like that, but I feel like New York should get the franchise because New York is one of our nexuses or nexi in our metro areas. New York is the most populated metro area in the United States. You don't have an SFL team in the biggest city in America? We don't want to say it's wrong, but it's a glaring omission to have that city not be represented. I know it was in the past with the team that's now Queen City, but to not have that when the league is going through this massive amount of expansion in eyeballs and in people being interested in the league, there's a lot of popularity that can come into having those big anchor cities, as I like to call them, the big cities, New York, LA, Houston, the Dallas Metroplex. I would say Chicago, but I know there's a history with Chicago. We ain't going to talk about that. but you understand what I mean. you have those big anchor cities. You want them to be represented in your league, and to not needs to be remedied. And that's why I think the New York Gargoyles would be an ideal pick to go into the SFL, just in that regard alone. There's also big benefits towards having rivalries with other cities like LA, Queen City, DC, London, and among other cities. You have that potential to grow rivalries between these franchises and to get more of that kind of that real life aspect where we have that fun trading of barbs between different teams that, at the end of the day, we're all having fun. We're all good friends and everything like that. But we still have that fun little chit chat back and forth that builds up those great rivalries that happen in other leagues.
I was muted. Fantastic. Tell me, Ethan, what was the inspiration for your team uniform colors, just the colors you chose, and for the gargoyle mascot itself?
So when putting together the team, when I was putting together my bid, I was trying to choose between three possible franchises. There was the Chicago Sharks, the Tokyo Kaiju, and the New York Gargoyles. And the rules came out that he only had to submit one bid, so you had to come up with the best one you had. Chicago wasn't that great of a look. And again, knowing the history, didn't want to rehash that and do any sort of flashbacks with anybody, trying out of respect for everyone else in the league. Tokyo was a good contender. It looked really nice. It looked, we had one of the the Beast logo with the green face and everything like that, almost kind of a Godzilla sort of look for the kaiju, and it looked really good. But at the end of the day, I wanted to pick something that would be good, again, to kind of build upon long-term growth for the league, and that ended up being with New York. The coloration choosing, we went with our initial set is black, silver, blue, and orange. Mm-hmm. So the black and silver are your typical Gotham style, dark urban environment sort of thing New York is typically known for, where the blue and orange honor the official colors of New York. If you look at the New York City not the state flag, it's not a state yet, it tried to be known. But if you look at the New York City flag, the three stripes are blue, white, and orange, and we wanted to incorporate that into our team to really kind of drill home the fact, this is a New York squad. It ain't going anywhere anytime soon. For the Gargoyle logo, for the choice of Gargoyles as a team, when you come up with, just kind of throw some cards on the table. I'm a tabletop gamer. I do a lot of tabletop sports. And when you put together fictional leagues through different means and things like that, you come up with crazy ideas for teams and locations and things like that. And you want to put them into fruition, especially with the SFL, because then it's like, it's your creation coming to life. But you're restrained by the teams in the file, so you have to work with what you got on the disc. But in going through that, was trying to find something that fits New York's aesthetic. Trying to fit something that maybe find like the state animal or a local symbol or something like that. And then the gargoyle popped up on my screen while I was scrolling through, and everything just kind of clicked right there. It was like, there's gargoyles all over Manhattan. There's a whole bunch of grotesques out there. I mean, you see those big staring eagles down the Chrysler building. They're well known, and everything just kind of came together from that point. That was the inspiration of just like, that's it. New York Gargoyles. Book it. That's it.
Yeah, it's definitely a Bruce Wayne kind of feel to it.
It does.
I'm digging it. I'm like,
the next thing we need is just have a bunch of gravelly voices.
There you go. You should call the game your next game just like that.
Oh, no, my voice couldn't handle it. I nearly lost my voice doing LA Portland because I did all that howling for the Lakers. Come on.
Yeah, actually, I really enjoyed that addition, because I didn't know it was you at first. Then I read the broadcast. Like, oh my God, Ethan, that was a nice touch. And I do admire the fact that a lot of the broadcasters will have those little nuances that make them, that fits their personality. Like even with Damon and his Hollywood Boulevard, you know, that's just, I think it's good to have those, something that people know you by. When they hear your voice, they automatically associate that. So that's good.
It was kind of funny. We were kind of talking about that. The first game I ever did, it was a St. Louis game. And I ended up just to have fun with it and just to kind of see if anybody would get it. And I'm sure people will look back at the season 17 game and find it. But I put in as many references to American Gladiators as I could. And I sprinkled all those terrible puns in. I think one of them was Cairo Martinez breaks through and conquers the end zone. And it was so silly, but it was so much fun to just try and have that.
I understand. I mean, it's good to have fun. You know, it is. It's good to bring something new and exciting to, you know, to the booth in a sense. What do you foresee the biggest challenge if you are awarded a team? What do you foresee your biggest challenge would be being a new owner?
Being a new owner, especially when you're building a team from scratch, you have to be able to forge those friendships and connections that you need to put a team together. I think the biggest challenge for us is going to be that first season when we're putting together our staff, we're putting together our coaching, and we're trying our best to get people who may be in free agency or who want to be drafted by New York to be interested in coming to the team. You know, as you said, being a relatively new person, being in the broadcast booth kind of puts me in a good cornerstone. But at the end of the day, you're still, you know, I'm still a relatively new person who has co-owners who are basically picking up my slack, for lack of a better term, because you have Aaron Alexander and Hubba Kimbrell. They're great guys. They do a great job in giving me ideas that may have passed by me, and they do a great job to make sure that this group runs smoothly. To be able to make sure all three of us are working together, getting everything done is going to be the biggest hurdle we have. So if we get that team, staffing going to be the big thing we got to take care of. And then just going out and selling the Gargoyles as a contender. It's like, hey, we've got these guys backing us up. They're coaching, they're managing. They know, these guys know what they're doing. They can make us contenders. Come on and join up with the Gargoyles squad. And that's going to be the biggest thing for us to do. The biggest hurdle is going to be recruiting and getting players. And it's going to be a heck of a challenge, but I think we're up for it.
Awesome. Now, how did all three of you decide that you wanted to go out on an expansion bid together? You, Aaron Alexander, and Hubba Kimbrell.
So when I was first coming up with the idea of the team, it was initially just going to be by myself, but $500 expansion fee kind of put that down the drain. So the idea came by. It's like, okay, let's work with someone who's kind of in a GM position, who's interested in going into ownership, and kind of work with someone there. And that's how I found Aaron. Aaron and I agreed to work together, and when we put in the application, that was initially just us two, just going in 50-50. A few days later, Hubba Kimbrell gets a hold of me because I had originally slated him to be a GM, but he wasn't interested in doing that, but he was interested in ownership. He wanted to have a stake in the franchise. So I mediated between him and Aaron. We all agreed to go 3. We put together a group, and now everything's clicking for all of us right now. We're working on our stakes. I don't think any of us is going to have a majority ownership, because we want to be able to work together. We want us all to work together and make sure we get everything done. We don't want this to be a case of one person does everything because they own 60% of the team or 50% or anything, something like that. But if we go something around that route, that will probably be the best way for us to work together and make sure that everyone gets their say and gets their things done. More than likely, everything's probably going to be done unanimously, but just in case you have that contentious issue, you want to make sure you don't want to have that one person just trying to run the whole show because they have the most share.
And then alienate the other two, which will cause problems.
Exactly.
Then your team sees that and they're like, oh my gosh, this is some issue. Yeah, so it could be a trickle-down effect. So yeah, you selected a good group of guys to go on the ticket with you. So shouldn't have any problems in that regard. Now with coaching and front office and those important roles, have you already decided on whom you like to assume those roles, if you should be awarded a team, or is it still a work in progress?
We're still working on that right now. We don't have names confirmed, and more than likely, we don't want to let anyone know about that sort of thing. We would, if we have somebody locked in, we would let them know. It's like, hey, we want you as this position, and then we would want to let them take care of their business with their teams. We don't want this to be some sort of situation where it gets released out, like we're hiring somebody and it causes tension within their team. We don't want to cause that. We're a very positive group. We're a very supportive group. We always want to make sure everybody's good, everybody's happy, everyone's having a good time. And if we have somebody down as our number one, we let them know. We say, hey, you're our number one choice. If you want to come on board, let us know, and we'll pen you in instead of pencil you in. And then they can do what they need to do to get their affairs in order. Right now, the list is being whittled down for who we want for general manager and for coach and for our coaching staff. We are trying to, we're always open for people who are in other staff who are looking to move up, who are looking to get interest in front office work. I know we have a couple people who have reached out and said they'd like to, dabble into it, and we're always open for that. And by God, go ahead and give us a ring. We'll be more than interested in going through the vetting process with you.
Awesome. Now, what is your team philosophy going to be? What do you want your team to be known for?
So our philosophy in terms of our locker room, we want our philosophy to be one of, as we said, positivity. We always want to be able to go out there, have a good time, win or lose, and just know that we brought our best regardless of what happens. If we go 4-8, if we go 9-3, at the end of the day, we all had fun. We all had a good time. We're all good pals, and we'll kick some more butt next season. If now in terms of off the field, we do have a philosophy of wanting to make an impact on and off the field. As I talked about on running with the Bulls with the Fort Worth group, we announced that if we are given a franchise, for every point that we score in the season, we will be donating $1 to local charities. We have not hashed out which charity it is, but the ownership group has agreed to go along with that route. So for every point we score in the season 19, $1 goes to local charity, and it's going to go that way throughout our tenure in the SFL.
Very noble, very, very noble of you. Very noble. And you said that you haven't decided on which charity that this will be. As of yet,
right? We are whittling it down. I've given a list of 3 in mind. Once we decide which one we're going to go with, we'll let everybody know about that. And I think that would be a great key towards ownership letting us into their group. I'm sure they would be very happy with that. As we said about the charities, we also would be encouraging our players to match as best they can. We're not asking them to throw money if they can't afford to. We want to make sure that you are taken care of first. That's kind of the other philosophy we go with. Is like, we want to help people out, but make sure you're okay first before you do that sort of thing. We don't want you hurting yourself for the sake of other people. Don't be throwing burns on yourself when you don't need to be doing that. You know what I mean?
Indeed. So tell me a little bit about Baltimore. Being a tight end over there, you guys are heading into the playoffs at the number 2 spot, just right after Vancouver. What is it like to be such a dominant force in actually for the past 3 or 4 seasons?
It's been an interesting journey for me as a Vulture, mostly because me being a secondary tight end, I'm not doing a lot of the legwork, but I'm getting some of it done. I mean, I only scored my first touchdown in week 13, which is kind of something to say. For the entire time that I've been here, I've never gotten in the end zone until that point. I didn't do it in the minors with the minors, and I didn't do it for most of this season until week 13. But I think it kind of puts an interesting perspective when you're a Vulture and you're going into it with a secondary mindset. It's like you want to make sure you're out there and doing your job and making sure you're doing the best you can for your team. But for the most part, you're watching them just run roughshod over all these teams, and you're making your contribution. You're helping build that impact. But for the most part, when you're looking at this, you're seeing Wigmore do his thing over in the air for all the receivers. You're seeing Murray do his thing on the ground, and you're just kind of in awe that they've been able to do this for so long and keep such a good record. And it humbles you a little bit. It kind of is like, they chose me to be part of this team, and that makes you feel a little bit special.
Indeed. Baltimore is one of those cornerstone teams that has been around the league for a very, very long time, pretty much since the conception of the league. So when you are fortunate enough to join one of those teams, and Baltimore typically doesn't have a lot of turnover. So, you're pretty much set when you're there. So I definitely understand why people don't want to leave, when they do make it there. So have you been learning from TJ and T-Pat since you've been in Baltimore and are you going to carry those teachings on with you to New York?
I think I have. They've helped me out a lot in learning how to build your player and what things you need to do in order to get a solid base down, in order to make sure that your player doesn't get too overpowered on one thing but is totally weak on another thing. They've done very good in getting me balanced up, finally getting me up to the bronze level before the end of this regular season. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a good mentality that I would definitely move forward to in New York. I do have a different philosophy in team building, but that's just my own style. And I'm sure whichever coach and manager we choose for New York, we'll find ways to work together and get things melded right so that everybody's happy and everybody is happy with what we put together. And I think that would definitely be a good way to work it out.
Indeed. Mm-hmm. All right then. So, I had a question for you, and it was a follow-up question to something that you mentioned.
Well, there goes the train of thought.
I know, it's just right over there somewhere. See it? It's floating. I'm trying to catch it.
805 to the cerebellum.
Let me see. What was it? Oh, how do you plan on handle the possible adversity that you may face with your first year? Because typically, when you have a new team, you may have some free agents that come over to kind of help you. So you have those seasoned players that help fill out your roster, but you'd have to replace, make the rest of them up with rookies and things of that nature. And it takes a while for the team build to kind of mesh together. So how do you plan on handling the adversity that will come from the team, possibly, of not winning, possibly, and even from the league of the naysayers, things like that?
So if we're dealing with any sort of adversity, there's an old adage that I kind of run with every time I'm dealing with some sort of situation. You improvise, you adapt, and you overcome. You take everything as it is. You're going to have good breaks. You're going to have bad breaks. I'm an avid golfer. My goal in life is to become a teaching professional because I love to teach the game of golf with everybody. One of the things you learn when you play the game of golf is that you play it as it lies. Sometimes the rules are there to help you. Sometimes the rules will hinder you. Mostly they're there to help you. As someone who helps out with rules, I know what I'm talking about, that sort of thing. But for the most part, you've got to play the ball as it lies. You got to work with what you got. I know going into this, we're going to have those typical expansion woes that every expansion team deals with. You're going to have those struggles where people aren't feeling good about winning or something like that, and you just gotta stay positive, stay professional, keep them on their feet, keep them motivated to keep driving, because it'll be like, we're gonna go through these bumps, we're gonna have these bumps. It's not an if, but it's a when, and when it does happen, I know you guys can pull through it because you guys are really good at this, that, and the other thing. And I know you guys can pull it off, and that's really what we're going to have to do. We have to make sure that we can adapt our game, fix whatever problems we have, and overcome any frustrations we might deal with as a team, and manage to get over those humps. If that leads us to 5-7, hey, that's okay. We managed to get things done 5 times. We got, probably lost a couple of squeakers. We can work on that. We can build it for the next season, and we'll go 7-5. Then we'll go 8-4, and then next season we go 10-2, and we win the whole thing. And just got to make sure that your players understand. It's like, if you're looking for short-term wins, probably not going to happen. If it does, hey, that's great. It's awesome. We got a good break, but you got to be prepared. You got to plan for the worst and hope for the best. And knowing that players understand that when they come to play for New York, and if we exceed those worst expectations on our first year out, then we've got a whole lot of positive momentum for us going into the next season, and we can build that long-term success in the future.
Phenomenal. Now, to me, it's important for an owner to be in the locker room, to make his presence known in the league, as well as in, amongst his players, not just his or her players, not just when you're drafting them, things like that. What type of owner do you plan to be, and that that Aaron and Hubba will be, and how important is that for how do I want to ask that question? What type of owners will you all be? And knowing the time crunches that you all have in your lives, how do you plan on balancing real life with ownership?
So I know that Hubba has agreed to come in as a silent owner. We're welcoming his contributions, we're welcoming his suggestions, but for the most part, he's going to be in the background while Aaron and I kind of take care of any active matters that may come into play. As for what kind of owner I'll be, I'll just be myself. I'm just a very chill person, very open-ended person, someone who can easily be reached out to. Probably won't get to you immediately because I'm probably going to be out doing Instacart deliveries, but I'll get to you as soon as I can. but as someone who's this is kind of the reason why we have 3 owners in the first place, because we're going to have our real life issues. I'm going to be outside doing a whole lot of grocery delivery for the most part, and if I get the job that I'm looking for, then I'm just working at a country club for a whole week. Then if that works out, then I can make better devotions to time. And and the way things work that way, Aaron's a good way to fill in my gaps. I can kind of fill in a bit of Aaron's gaps, and we kind of mesh things together. We don't have that much Swiss cheese going on in our ownership, where things just kind of fall through. And we're going to be owners who will be active out there in our team. We'll give them I'll probably post a meme or two and give them some good laughs to talk about, and I'll kind of talk to other people out there in the chat and Discord and kind of have a little fun with them, kind of do something silly or something like that. I'm going to be someone who's very relaxed, someone who's going to be who's going to be out there to have a good time and to bring his team a good amount of victories. And at the end of the day, I'm just going to be myself.
All right, and ultimately that's all you can do. Just be yourself and try to.
I got fingers crossed. We're reaching out to all the owners we can, hoping, wanting to get their feedback, wanting to get their questions, address any concerns that they might have. But at the end of the day, hopefully just being out here and campaigning with the SFL faithful will kind of help bring New York to a little bit of a higher stock.
Indeed. Well, one more question I wanted to ask it's more so wanting to know from you. Is there any other message that you would like to give everyone about the Gargoyles that you may not have mentioned, or even about yourself, that would make you a good candidate?
So I think the one thing I kind of talked about this with Ross and the Insider, but just to kind of address it out right now, the hype that everyone's been putting out with the Gargoyles ever since the team trailer came out has been phenomenal. It's been very positive. People have been, the players have been very excited about the possibility of New York coming back into the SFL fold, and that's kind of been a little bit of validation just to get what started out as just as a schmuck and a dream has kind of just started to slowly come together, and just kind of realizing a little while ago, it's just like, oh my God, this could actually happen. This could actually work. I'm going to be owning a team, possibly. I mean, now granted, it's a 40% shot with the 10 candidates that are out there, but the fact that we're out here talking with the SFL faithful, talking with owners, talking with management and staffers to try to get people to support New York, it has just been so much fun to do. You've been a lot of fun. I've talked with Eddie, I've talked with Ross, I've talked with everybody in Fort Worth. This has been a lot of fun, just getting the word out and talking about New York, talking about the Gargoyle team, and hoping that's been really, being out here and addressing the concerns out in the open air, has hopefully been able to help out with the ownership group as well to kind of address any issues they might have. And for you guys, for the SFL faithful, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. And win or lose, this has been a lot of fun.
All right, phenomenal. And I did think about that last question. I know I got stuck on. Your business sense. What is your business sense like? And how will you be able to handle the business side of owning a team, like store and marketing, things of that nature? So
my business sense, I can kind of give example through my Instacart work. I'm always trying to grind out to a goal as best I can. Last week I exceeded my expectations, so I was able to kind of take it a little easier this week, and my body thanks me for that, because I ended up having to lift like 3 of those 24 packs of water up a flight of stairs all at the same time. So I was like, yeah, 75 pounds of carrying is not that much fun, but it does symbolize the kind of devotion I'm going to have for this team, the kind of business drive that I'm going to have, that, if we are selected for a team, we're gonna be coming up with ideas. We're gonna have a lot of creativity coming out of the works. We're definitely gonna put together a store. I love the idea of having black gargoyle cap with just the logo in front of it, like a little bit of an orange outline. That'd be kind of cool. But just the idea of just getting, we'll have merch. We'll have our slogan. Our hashtag is always watching, and we'll definitely have that out there. We definitely want to be a team that has that exposure out there, not just in the Discord, not just in Twitch or YouTube land, but out there in the real world. We'll put some shirts out there. We'll get people, out there, get people talking, and with any luck, help grow this league a lot more than expected.
Well, I wish all of you best of luck in this venture. As I've been telling everybody, it's not going to be an easy decision for the owners to be able to decide amongst all 10 bids, just only 4 spots. But yeah, I do wish you the best of luck. I think that you guys, definitely have a strong bid ahead of you. And, if it's meant to be, it will be. I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next time, if Hubba and Aaron have time, they can come on. And, once you actually get, if you're blessed to actually have the team and things like that, come on and, kind of let everybody know and thank everybody, for everything. I'd love to have you back on. Anytime you want to come on too. You're invited.
All right. That sounds good.
All right, Ethan. It was a pleasure. What is up, SFL Nation, and welcome back to my expansion bid hopefuls interview. I have a guest with me that I've never had on the show before. I've known his brother a long time, but this is my first time actually seeing him as well. He is Mr. Jason Williams. He is the head coach of the Fort Worth Toros, also their fantastic running back, and the former head coach of the Albuquerque Adams. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. Finally glad to be here. It's been hard trying to catch up with me, but now I'm here.
Yes.
And ready to get it rocking.
That's all that matters. You made it. You made it, brother. And you have been in the league for a while now, Jason, haven't you?
Yeah, started in season 11. I feel like I'm one of the old heads in the league now.
Right. I feel you on that. Season 12 here, so I totally get that, man. You have been a firecracker on the field for the Fort Worth Toros ever since you joined the team. You have definitely made an impact in the league since you have been here. Quiet as it's kept. But let's get to know you a little bit. So give us a little bit of information about you. Your hometown, your hometown, your favorite NFL team, and some interesting facts about yourself, Jason.
Okay. All right. So my hometown is Tyler, Texas, if anybody didn't know that already. My favorite NFL team is honestly the Chicago Bears. We've been in a rebuilding decade for a while, so we'll get there eventually. And an interesting fact about me is I literally just moved to the Chicago area, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, no.
From Washington State, so it's a big change. If anybody,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, if anybody doesn't know, I've been in the federal government for 8 years. Just got a new job. That's the reason I'm in Chicago with the military now. So I'm working with Marines and Navy. So I'm actually on a base right now. So, but yeah, so those are a few interesting facts. And I guess another little tidbit that doesn't have to do with work is that I have a twin brother, Justin Williams, who's actually the fullback for Houston. So it's all in the family. Yeah.
I never knew that y'all had a third. That's dope.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, can you tell me a little bit about what that transition was like going from Washington to Chicago? First of all, Bears fan, you already have my heart already. I had a non-Bears fan, a Green Bay fan on my last show. So, had to let him know.
Yeah, and I'm kind of torn. I'm kind of torn because Aaron Jones went to my university and he's the running back for Green Bay. So it's like, I want to root for him, but I really don't want to root for the team. So, yeah.
Well, you can keep that, quiet. Do a secret little yay every time he does something.
Yeah.
But what was the transition like from Washington to Chicago?
Man, it was actually crazy because I only had a week to get from Washington State to Chicago. So I had to pack up all my stuff. And my wife now, who is Michaela, K. Marion, you know her as K. Marion, but
yes.
Yeah. So it was a big move for both of us. Both of us really wanted to get out of there. But going from one extreme, because it gets super cold there, -20s, going to Chicago, which isn't any better. I mean, it still gets cold here. But we're around more people. We were kind of isolated. We were in a town less than 1,000 people, so moving to the Chicago area is a big change. So
a culture shock too.
Exactly. Real culture shock. So
y'all wait till it get hot.
It's great to be around more diverse people. So
definitely. But y'all gonna have fun when it gets hot. Like we got to visit Chicago in the summertime. Go to the Taste of Chicago where you're tasting all different types of foods, like from rattlesnake, barbecue ribs, to everything. They have everything there. Y'all gonna have a good time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're all about food, so.
Oh yeah, you're gonna be good. You're gonna gain some weight, man. I'm wanting Kay, y'all both gonna gain some weight. Just let you know. And Kay should be on here too sometime. I would love to have her on.
I'll have to get her. A lot of people don't know, but she is actually pregnant right now. So yeah,
congratulations.
She's doing that thing. So she's, she has her up and down days, but yeah, she's doing good. This will be our first.
Well, we're gonna have to have a whole show about that, all the warnings and all of, but y'all, I'm happy for you. Congratulations on everything, man.
Thank you.
Oh. All right. So tell me, Jason, first of all, what brought you to the SFL in the first place?
Man, I think I was working with some guys, training some guys, and I was looking up the old ESPN 2K5 for some reason, and then came across the SFL. I'm like, well, what is this? I was like, is this just a different version of 2K8 or whatever? And so I kind of deep dove in. I'm like, all right, it's kind of interesting, because me and my little brothers, or my twin brother and my little brother, used to, play 2K and all this other stuff, and create all these teams and all this. And so I was like, yeah, this looks pretty interesting. So went on to the website or something and found the Discord, joined the Discord, and that was pretty much it. Been in ever since.
Okay, so did you bring your brothers on?
Yeah, I actually told Josh first. I'm like, hey, you might want to check this out, because this is something that we were doing way back when. And I was like, this is pretty cool. Like, there's other people out there that, kind of think the way we think. And, just love creating teams or creating players and just letting them play out, letting the computers play each other. So he looked at it, he joined, and then eventually caught up with my twin brother and told him about it, and now he's in.
Fantastic. So what is your main motivation for your expansion team, for your expansion bid? You've been in the league since season 11. And what made now the right time for you?
I really wanted to put in on the last expansion, but the way my work was set up and time management, it just wasn't going to work. But then there was no better time than now, being in a better area, have a little better time management. But my main drive was, I love seeing the new guys come in to the SFLM and then try to transition their way into the pros. And I'd love to bring an atmosphere to where it's easy for them, but then they also enjoy and love being on the team they're playing with. Because, there's some that, they get drafted, they end up on a team, but they really don't like being there because of, either owners or the way the locker room atmosphere is. And if anybody knows it, and if anybody has played in the SFLM on the Albuquerque Adams team, they know how our atmosphere is. Nobody wants to leave. They always want to be a part of the staff the next season or something like that. And so I just want to bring that to the SFL. That atmosphere and team bonding and coaching, a great coaching staff that we're all about each other. Nobody's above each other. Even if I'm the owner, I'm not above. I listen to everybody. So that's what I'm trying to bring.
Okay, so Fort Bliss Operators will be the name of your expansion team. What made you choose that name, and what's the story behind the name, and what will your mascot be, or your logo entail? Okay.
So the story behind the name Fort Bliss, for anybody who doesn't know, is actually an Army base in El Paso, Texas. I went to university out in El Paso, University of Texas at El Paso. And between the football players and the military, we actually struck up a great connection. So every time we would fly out to games, we always flew out of the military base instead of the regular commercial airport or whatever. And so they, after a few years or whatever, struck up a bond with a couple of guys that actually worked there. They bring me on base, show me around. We go to the bomb range, blow up some stuff, shoot a lot, all this. I really had a deep connection with a few guys out there. And so when the expansion came around, you're like, you know what? I like the area. I like Fort Bliss. Let's roll with Fort Bliss. And then the operator's name actually comes from, I actually worked with some special forces guys, or I know some special forces guys, really didn't work with them. But with the government, I train special operators for the government. And, that name just stuck around. And that's just the group of guys I hang around with. So, I put two and two together. Fort Bliss Operators sounds like a pretty cool name. And the logo is of a operator. So just trying to keep that theme.
Okay. So now, why not? I guess kind of negates the question I was going to ask you, which was why not just move the team to Chicago, where you're currently living? Bring a team back to Chicago.
Yeah, I'm trying to get away from any of the cities that have been used already. So Chicago's been used, from the Wildcats. Just trying to have a fresh name. I know people are going to have their reservations about another team being in Texas.
Right.
I did that purposefully because, we have a 4-team division. So, might as well just lock up that division and make it a Texas division if Cam's watching. Because, hey, like I said on Eddie's show, some of the hardest teams that we've played or faced, and I know there's teams outside of that division, come from the South. At one point, the South was one of the tougher divisions. And so, I like a challenge, and I put the team there. Hopefully I get it. If I don't, I don't. But, that was my reason behind keeping the team in Texas.
Okay. So ultimately, why do you think the owners should award you a team, Jason?
Like I said, I feel like I can help the newer players that are coming into the league realize their ability and their enjoyment of being on a pro team. I know there's a few players that have, they pay. This is a pay to play league. They spend their money to be in this league, and they end up on a team where it just kind of ruins their experience. And I don't want to do that for them. I want it to be the best experience that they have coming into this league. And I feel like my team or my expansion team, the atmosphere of my team would help them do that. And in the long run, we end up getting more players because, it spreads about word of mouth. So I'm just using my team as a catalyst to hopefully gain more people in this organization.
So, Jason, you played football, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What position did you play?
I was a running back.
Hence why you're running back for the Fort Worth Photos?
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
So how satisfying is it to see yourself on the field again as a running back?
Yeah, it's actually pretty good because, everybody has a time clock, so to say. You can't play forever. So I'm just living that fantasy life through this character that I've developed. And it's honestly great, hearing your name again on TV and, nationwide or wherever, the SFL reaches. It's just good to see that.
I was always wondering, and that's one question I for some reason never asked anyone that said that they played football, how does it bring that the same kind of satisfaction of that game day, being in the locker room with your guys and trying to give them that pep talk? And since you're the head coach, of course you're trying to, inspire them. Hey, guys, we're gonna have a good game, all that kind of stuff. And
exactly.
Does that satisfy that need for that? for you?
It does, and honestly, it's almost a little worse. Like, it's nerve-wracking. You know, with the playbooks, and are they going to call the right play when it comes down to crunch time? There's a minute left, and you got the ball, and you're driving down the field on the opposite side of the field. Dude, like, sometimes I've caught myself like sweating sitting in the seat, watching these game-winning drives or stuff like that, or our defense trying to hold off a team. It gets crazy.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I can imagine, and that also kind of corresponds with another question that I've often asked everyone. Should esports be considered an actual sport because of all of the emotions and the time that you spend going through everything?
I definitely think so. I mean, and this is just my opinion, there are worse games out there that get notarized and don't have anywhere close to as much emotion as what I've seen here in this organization. So I believe that esports, especially the SFL, should be at the top. And I'm just surprised that this thing hasn't blown up like worldwide, honestly, as much as those other games. So I definitely think where Cam's onto something, and this league is onto something.
And definitely, and I think it's coming sooner rather than later. Definitely with all of the new acquisitions that we've had, new partnerships and everything. I think that's coming. So what drives you as a head coach? Because you were the head coach of the Adams, which were a championship winning team, and then actually went undefeated in season 3. So what is it like for you being the head coach of both of these teams? And does that give you an advantage in this new realm that you're trying to acquire?
I think it does, because I've learned the ins and outs of how to set up a playbook, what plays work, what plays don't to a certain aspect, but then also how to tailor what you want to see to the players that you have. Because sometimes you only have one tight end, sometimes you have 2 tight ends. It just depends. Sometimes you have 3 receivers or 2 receivers. Sometimes you have a running back and a fullback, or you don't have a fullback at all. So being able to have that experience, being in the SFLM and then transitioning over to the SFL, it definitely gives you a good gauge of how to use your playbook and how to use the plays within the game to try to get what you want. And I would recommend for the new people coming into the league, dude, start from the bottom, start as a scout, work your way all the way up, because you start to gain that experience. And by the time you get to where you want to be, whether that be a head coach or an owner, you kind of have a good background of what you've seen and what really doesn't work, what works for certain situations. So I think that was my driving force behind being a head coach and then wanting to be an owner, because I feel like I've seen enough to at least be competitive if I was an owner. And if not, then I'm not. But I feel like I have a good chance of being decent, at least.
Okay. Tell us about your contributions that you made to the SFL over the last few seasons said that you've been here. Besides coaching, has there been anything that I may have missed?
I just kind of spread word of mouth. I'm not too big of a talker or whatever, but I'll drop to a couple of friends, or like I said, my brother's like, hey man, you might want to check this league out. I know it's pay to play, but you really get your money's worth if you really put in the time and effort to it. So for me, I think it's just word of mouth, just trying to get this league out there to another realm of people that might not know about it.
Okay, because that's interesting, because during my show last night, I had someone pop in and they were interested in joining. One of their questions was this a money pot league? And I told them no. And as you said, it's a pay to play league, but you get so much for what you're paying for. I mean, you get the opportunity to broadcast or to do stats or to scout for a team. You get a chance to be something more than you would in your normal life, maybe, or maybe kind of hone in on some things that you're already good at,
Exactly.
finding your niche and things like that. So I think for anybody that's interested in joining the SFL, they should, and
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth it.
Indeed.
Your time and money will not go wasted if you put the effort into it. That's how I see it.
Indeed. So, Jason, what are you going to do about coaching for the operators? Are you going to, and how is your front office? Do you already have people in mind that you want to slide in those positions if you should get the team? Or
I do have some people in mind. I was asked by another owner, like, "Hey, I see where you didn't actually put anybody in your office, your staff section." And I told him, I was like, "Look, it's kind of fluid at this moment. I really am talking behind the scenes with Josh to try to get him on track, in a bigger role, because he's a good dude. He knows what he's talking about. He knows defense for sure. And if that were to happen, we'd split it 50-50. I take half of it, more of the offense, you take more of the defense. And then while we're trying to find that, I'm not going to say perfect coaching staff, but a coaching staff that will work for this organization, we'll be handling most of the bulk of the load for the time being as we scout and look for other staff.
Okay. Now, is that going to be taxing on you because of, how busy you are? You just moved and you have everything. Is taking on this new ownership role going to be, are you going to be able to, I guess, be like a hands-on owner or be there for the team with everything that you have going on in your life?
I thought about that a lot. And, you make time for the things that you really, invested in. And so, I'll make time. I always have a backup plan for everything. And I'm always, 10 steps ahead of certain things too. So I'll make time. I'll be there. I'll be hands-on. Like I said, if you've never been in the Albuquerque Adams locker room, I was always in there, always vocal, never missed anything. So I'm treating this ownership, if I get it, just exactly like I was the head coach of the Albuquerque Adams. So they'll be getting more than enough information coming from me if this happens.
Okay, gotcha. So why isn't Joshua on the ticket with you as a co-owner?
Well, I don't know. I really didn't know if he really wanted to be an owner at the moment. I dropped a hint to him well before this expansion even came about. I was like, look, if I get a team, I would definitely consider you to be a major part of building this team. And he said, hey, if you get it, we'll see what happens. But I'll tell him only if, there's no point of, dropping what you already have and it doesn't work out, because now you're kind of out of it. So it's kind of, if I get it, then we'll see what happens. If I don't get it, we just go about our normal days and all that stuff. So that's why he's not on there as an owner right now. Because honestly, he has a good thing going where he is right now. So
I get that, definitely. He does so much for the league already. It just would have, I think adding him to the ticket would have been maybe the cherry on top, because you already do a lot for the league anyway. But, like you said, just see what happens,
Right. I'm going to go with the flow guy. We'll see what happens.
Exactly. So what is your team philosophy? What do you want to be known for?
Pretty much smash mouth, hard hitting defense. We run the pass the run, but kind of the philosophy I had with, and I always go back to the Albuquerque Adams, because I feel like that was a perfect recipe for the success we had there, is that to be unpredictable. You have scouts that go out and scout offense and defense, and they can pretty much come up with a pretty good playbook of what you have. And I felt like my time in the SFLM, they really couldn't gauge what exactly our playbook was. And so we were able to be successful in that aspect. But again, transitioning to the SFL, there's a lot of good people, a lot of good scouts. So 1 or 2 games and they've got your playbook like that. I've been on the other end of the spectrum of people trying to figuring out our offense or defense or whatever and just burning us. So that unpredictability is what I'm trying to bring to my philosophy, to my team. I feel like the more unpredictable you are, the harder it is to defend your attack or something like that. So that's where I'm at on that.
Okay, awesome. Talk a little bit about Fort Worth Toros. Are you satisfied with the season that you all have had so far? Or were you looking for something a little bit more?
I don't think any of us have been satisfied with our seasons, especially our past 2 seasons, this one and the last season, due to our record. But if you were to really look at it, I mean, we were there in the games that we lost. I mean, we were right there. One thing goes our way, one thing doesn't go the other team's way, and that's a win for us. And it's a totally different ball story. And I think we were just kind of upset and frustrated at that aspect. But as far as the organization goes, the players, the teams, I mean, they're great guys. I mean, I wouldn't change anything the way it's been. We all work hard, especially Nacho and Hacker. I mean, they are some great owners. They've shown me stuff that I honestly didn't even know about in the SFL, as far as playbooks and how to run an organization and stuff like that. So there's no hard feelings, no nothing coming from or towards Fort Worth. But I just felt like, it was a great opportunity to grow and expand on my career and legacy, and trying to help out the other people in the league. But man, I've learned a lot from the Toros. And if I get this team, I wish them the best of luck, and hopefully, I end up staying in the division. I'll see them again.
That would be interesting to be able to play your old team. And it is good to not have those hard feelings, because ultimately, I think if you are, as an owner or as a coach, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, part of your job is to help your team grow. And if someone does have that aspiration to be an owner, you want to kind of guide them in that direction. You don't want to take their opportunity from them, so no matter how good you are,
Right.
So how do you handle adversity? Because, with owning a new team, getting together a whole new crew, you may have some free agents that might hop over there with you, Just driving, huh? You may have some free agents that hop over there with you, definitely, just to be, because they saw how you managed the Adams and they saw how you're managing Fort Worth. But for the new rookies, having all of those player bills meshing together and trying to find that right recipe that you have, how daunting do you think that will be? Or what do you think your biggest challenge as a new owner will be?
I think the biggest challenge is just trying to get them in the flow of how the SFL works, how you get your progressions and how not to miss progressions. Because you miss progression, you're behind the 8 ball at that point. You're not gaining anything. And I think being able to present them something that actually shows them, hey, this is what you should be doing to get where you want to be, definitely helps. I know that since the progression era, we went to the portal, which makes things way easier than what it used to be. So I think just pointing them in the right direction and kind of guiding them in the, laying a foundation first. And like, look, you definitely need this before we can get to this. Definitely helps. But just letting them physically see, have something to look at and follow, I think would be great. Now, I'm not one that, hey, you need to do this. It's either my way or the highway, but it's just a suggestion. If you were to follow this, you'll definitely get to, like I said, where you want to be, and probably one of the Hall of Fame players at the end of your career. You're sitting there looking back and like, man, I'm glad I followed the suggestions that my coaches and owners set forth, and in your career in a good way.
Okay, gotcha. And that's important because people are paying money. They want to be. They want to see some
that's always in the back of my head. It's like, look, you're paying money,
right?
Don't blow it.
Right, and it's got to be kind of taxing mentally for coaches too, because not only you have to figure out of all these 6,000 plays, which either 80 or 150 you want to add to your book, and then you have to also think about your 23 other people that you're trying to make sure everybody gets to playing time, make sure that everybody's happy. So you do have to be a pretty good multitasker. You have to be very patient. And I've seen that from you. I've seen that in how you've even led your team to championships. Speaking of which, how does it feel to be a champion? It's SFLM, but still, you're still a champion.
It feels good, and I guess most people might not know, but I was a 2-time SFL champion with the Alaska Storm back then as a fullback. So I walked into a championship organization.
I forgot you were.
Exactly. So they won a championship the year before I got on, or the season before I got on. Ended up getting drafted as a fullback, and then ended up winning 2 more championships as a fullback with Alaska Storm. And so I'm guessing that championship mentality was instilled because I've learned a lot from Mighty from the 2 seasons I was with Alaska Storm. There's a lot of grace that came from that organization. So. But just watching how he ran his team, I was like, man, this dude is good. I was like, maybe I can do that eventually when I get my footing. But yeah, just starting out in that championship, mentality organization, and then going to some teams that, it was the opposite. It was night and day. And I can say it now because we don't have that team anymore. I mean, Oklahoma City Renegades. I was on that team for a little bit. That was total opposite of what the Alaska Storm was. And so then I transitioned to London. London wasn't bad. We just weren't winning games. That doesn't mean we were bad. It wasn't a bad organization. The atmosphere was great. The locker room was great. We just weren't winning games. And then I get to Fort Worth, new expansion team. It's going to be rough. First season was all right. Second season, we go to the playoffs. We lose in the round 1, and then now these next 2, we're there. We're right there. Play goes our way, we win. Play doesn't go their way, we win. Type thing. But we're right there. But the atmosphere with the Toros is phenomenal. I mean, the owners are phenomenal. The players are phenomenal. I wouldn't mind meeting these guys in real life and hanging out with them. Type thing. So. Yeah, it's been a crazy career. I'm just excited to see what happens, if I get a team. So.
Yeah, you really have had a crazy career. I mean, and you've had a plethora of different tutelage too. So you have the best of both worlds. Actually, you have the, hey, we're not winning games, and you're right. That doesn't necessarily make you a bad team. You just haven't found that recipe yet, and it's
right.
For anybody that likes to rip on people that are on teams that aren't doing well, like Portland didn't do too hot this year, things like that. That is not an easy task, and for anybody that thinks it is, please go coach in the SFLM so they can prove you wrong.
Right.
Yeah,
I learned that firsthand becoming the head coach for the Toros. It's not as easy as everybody thinks. Oh, he should have done this. He should have done that. Look, you're playing against, you're coaching against the best of the best.
That
if you're not on your P's and Q's, I mean, it's just not going to work for you. And you got to tailor the play to your players. So
exactly. So you have multiple things that you're having to account for. And if you are not in that circle, that's why I also make sure I try to talk to everybody so you can get you can have an understanding about what people go through, and so maybe you can be a little bit understanding when they're out there in the field, and when you see somebody losing, being more understanding and a little bit more empathetic versus just being, oh my God, you suck. Like, no, bro, that's
Right.
But yeah, you brought up a lot of interesting points with the statements that you're making. But I was going to the tutelage that you had the best of both worlds, so you can understand what it's like being in that hey, we're not winning situation to all the way being a champion. So great recipe, man. I do want to thank you so much for your time, Jason. I know that you're busy. I can hear phones and stuff going off, so but I appreciate you for being on, brother. Happy Easter to you. And is there anything else that you want everybody to know before I let you go? Like your final word?
It's been fun getting to finally meet you and be on your show. But yeah, no, I'm just excited. Like I said, if I get the expansion team, it's going to be a great organization to be with, to help these young guys and to help any veterans that are trying to get back, I guess, their juice, their mojo, or whatever. I'm going to try my best. My coaching staff's going to try our best to get back in that winning tradition. So, man, I'm just excited. I was happy to be here. Enjoyed the conversation with you. We'll definitely have to do this again for sure.
Indeed. Can't wait for the next time, man. Maybe you can have Kay and your twin brother on, and Josh. Have the whole family. How about that?
Oh yeah, we'll try to make it a little family get together if we can.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it, man. But I'm looking forward to seeing what y'all do on the field. It's in the playoffs, right?
No, we didn't make it. So yeah.
Damn.
Kay is in the playoffs.
I know she's happy.
Yeah, she's back here, giving her 2 cents and stuff. So yeah.
So why do you think y'all missed the playoffs?
Like I said, it was just one of those seasons to where things just didn't go our way. The first half of that season was kind of rough. I mean, we were there within 3 or 7 points, so it just didn't go our way.
Gotcha.
But through the adversity, the locker room was still great. I mean, nobody was, people were hurt. But they weren't like, I give up. People were still making their progressions and stuff like that, and that's what's important.
Indeed.
Just keep your head down and then keep pushing. Things end up being where they need to be when it's all said and done.
True. Hacker is real serious. I had my first time to sit there when we were at the convention in Texas. Speaking of which, where were you? But okay.
I was nowhere close. I can tell you that much.
But it was interesting watching the game with him because he is real serious. Like, he's intense. When something goes wrong, oh my gosh, I had to kind of move up a little bit. Still hit me, man.
But you kind of need that as an owner and part of the staff of your team, man. You need that intensity.
Indeed. It was fun to watch, and I admire him for that because I know that he's invested when you see that. So all right, man. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it, brother.
All right, no problem.
See you soon. That is it, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. We really appreciate it. Special shout out goes out to Jason Williams, to Ethan Musulin, and to Jim Copeland Jr. for being on the show. I really appreciate it. And of course, my co-host, Mr. Bo Martin.
I know it wasn't me that time.
It wasn't. So again, special thanks goes out to Jason Williams, to Ethan Musulin, and to Jim Copeland Jr. for being on the show. And of course, very special thanks goes out to my co-host, Bo Martin Jr. Anything you want to say to the good people before you leave, sir?
I'm gonna keep it short because you know me, I talk a lot. Just shout out to everybody and playoff football in the SFL. It's about to be a fun weekend. I'm happy to not be a part of it. I cannot tell you how happy I am to be able to sit at home and watch the SFL and watch 8 teams slug it out. You know, y'all enjoy it. I will enjoy watching. You know, I wish everybody the best. You know, let's have fun. Let's, you know, sometimes we get caught in drama. Let's put away the drama. You know, put away the drama and let's just have some fun and enjoy the league. We got some exciting things happening. You know, I'm looking forward to the playoffs. I'm looking forward to hearing about the expansion teams, looking forward to the convention. And so let's have some fun and enjoy it, and we'll go in.
Indeed. I could not agree with you more. Definitely. Everybody, I'm looking forward to bringing you another great podcast next week, y'all. But until then, stay safe, treat each other well. Bo and Striker.